What?
Our,
It's
I
a.
think,
I
I
think this
know,
is a stream.
it's a stream of sorts. It's some
Huh.
kind of a best of something with an Android in
Look at
it.
that.
You know, to
Well, welcome everybody to the
welcome
best
back.
podcast intros this side of the Mississippi.
Second best to the SGGQA on Monday. You know, that's the way I like to say
I mean,
it.
we have a much better podcast name than I do for my own personal podcast. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. Best of our week, where TK
Absolutely.
and I discuss the best tech of our week. And boy, howdy, has it's been busy out there.
It
There's
rained.
a lot
This week
going
it's
on.
been raining. It's like, yeah, we went from a little bit of information to the, hey, Google just announced, to the, oh my God, let's just talk about this stuff.
And like the accessory game isn't letting up either. It's just all around. All around, we
Absolutely.
got a lot of stuff to discuss. So I'm glad to see some great folks here in the chat already. Barry Johnson, Ron Guido, Malik, David Burns, Gregory All, Michael Peppertech. Who was I missing? El Jefe Reviews,
And Mr.
Farhan.
David Burns, of course, as usual. Jeff.
All right, we got a full house, and I think we need to jump right in. Um, Obviously, the most pressing piece of news, now that the Pixel 7 has arrived, Pixel 7 Pro has arrived, I have finally replaced the case on my Pixel 6 Pro.
Ooh, nice. What's that ring on the
So,
back?
so this is the Peak Design case. They pretty much mostly just make iPhone and a few Samsung cases, but they took a chance on the Pixel 6 Pro. And something
Nice.
tells me like it didn't really sell well enough for them to keep up because I haven't seen a Pixel 7 Pro case from them. But they've got a mounting system. So they've
Okay.
got all of these, because Peak Design makes my absolute favorite little travel tripod. They've got all
Yep,
these
yep.
little mounts and attachments. And so you can get like a car mount, a magnet mount, a handlebar mount, like if you want to ride it on your bike, and it just clicks into
Hmm.
this little square right there. So I'm going to give this a spin while I'm switching everything over to my Pixel 7 Pro. But I was like, I really did. I held on while it was failing and shards of broken plastic were sticking out the sides of that Pixel 6 Pro case. I made it all the way through to the Pixel 7 Pro being delivered. I am, while I'm very positive on a number of Google products, I am going to be not very enthusiastic about Google cases
Well,
for
so I'm gonna.
their
So maybe the best question to
phones.
be here is, let's segue since you're saying that. So that was your
Sure.
conversation over on Pixel 6 Pro. What case are you
Yeah.
using on the Pixel 7 Pro? Because I already got
So
my case, and it's a slightly different design, but it's not.
what did you get for your Pixel 7? Like
It's like a, it's almost like a camouflage case.
oh,
It
that's
hides
nice.
everything. It's a little bit of a see-through, but it still changes the color of it. The
Hmm.
little black bar at the top. So nothing fancy. I'm still trying to
Okay.
figure out what skin I'm gonna install on it, because on the 6 Pro I had the
Sure.
wood skin for the longest time. So yeah,
So I'm
nothing.
gonna.
Oh, and the
I don't
Belroy
have a
leather case.
case
Why not? We'll
on
throw that
my
in there.
Pixel 7 Pro yet.
Okay.
This afternoon was all about getting the Whitestone Dome glass screen protector on there,
Yeah,
and
I didn't
I
even
feel
get
kind of
there yet.
bad because Whitestone also sent. They're making these new like
The
I don't
UV
even know
ones.
what you call this. It's like a film case,
It's
so
a.
it's kind of like a plastic protective case.
Is it a film? Yeah. I mean, hold on. Not that I just went under your
This
desk and
podcast
brought
not brought
this
to you by
by
Whitestone Dome,
Whitestone,
but they
though. No, no,
make
of course.
great screen protectors. So I think this is more like
A film.
a fancier version of a plastic
Hmm.
TPU screen protector. I already have the glass on, so I think I'm just gonna stick with that for a bit.
I think most people. Yeah, it is a
But
UV
just
film.
as a,
It's a.
it-
It's
it's just
basically
as a
a.
it's
Yeah.
a
Sorry.
way
Go
to
ahead.
prevent like scratches on your screen, and that's great. And it's a bit more of a bonded process. But I like having the glass
Oh yeah.
because I did actually gnarly drop my Pixel 6, and the Whitestone Dome is ripple cracked from edge to edge. And
I've
you're like,
had that.
that would have been my phone screen. And if I
Yep.
even if I'd had a plastic screen protector on there, that would have cracked my actual screen, not just the screen protector. So I'm very appreciative Whitestone Dome sent that out. I'm going to be putting together just another quick little video on how I always manage to fail at installing Whitestone Dome screen protectors, and it's really
I've
not that
gotten.
hard.
No, I've gotten pretty good at it now. I actually have a spot in the house where I
I
know.
was I was so close, and
Yeah,
I was going through, and I was like, I'm not even going to watch the video this time. I'm just going to follow just the written
yeah.
instructions. Everything is going to be great. And again, I nudged the table where the first vial of the goop
The group. Yeah, yeah.
ran to the edge of the phone, and well, now I've got to I've got to do a whole other vial just to get my first one on there. So my track record, I had a streak of 2 in a row where I was like, yeah, I got it done on the first try, and I already broke my streak of 2. But the short story incredibly long. I
Yeah, yeah.
don't have a case on it yet. I shot my cinematic video sample just to
Yes.
kind of give it a little comparison between cinematic video, and then just for fun, I wanted to showcase that against 4K 30 frames per second with the new 10-bit HDR. I'm terrible at grading HDR footage, so it's not really that fancy. But while I was using it, the
Mm-hmm.
reflective white panel and the
Yeah,
little
yeah.
metal edge, if you hold your Pixel 7 Pro out at arm's length and you kind of line up the telephoto sensor with your just under your nose in your reflection,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of spot on your framing for a good center mounted head and
Okay.
shoulder shot.
Using the
So
main sensor. Yeah.
I want to keep this as reflective and as accessible as possible. So it was on sale. I think it was I want to say it was like $12, maybe 14. I went and got
Okay.
the clear Spigen, just
I
a
see
clear
what you
bumper.
mean. So keep it like right under your nose above your lip. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, and it's a great way. It's a great way to frame, and
All right.
especially because everybody knows I never use the front cameras. When you just want to do a quick like high quality talk to the camera, looking at
Or
the
even a
best camera on the
selfie. Oh yeah,
phone,
yeah, yeah. No, that's all.
or yeah, a good selfie photo or a good portrait mode photo, it lines up almost perfect. The
Mm-hmm.
telephoto is almost exactly in the right spot, and I love that it's got the circle because you can't frame the same way on the Pixel 6 Pro.
Yeah,
The
that's
Pixel
true.
6 Pro is just a black stripe, so you've just got to kind of eyeball it. The
Yeah,
Pixel
yeah.
7 Pro gives you this target. Where is the telephoto? That's where you're framing your shot. It's
No,
kind of perfect.
I
So
love it.
I'm gonna slap a clear bumper on there. I'm not spending a lot. It's just now I'm gonna finally have it all protected. Probably gonna get the case tomorrow.
You know that
So
both
that's what I'm
6
gonna
Pro
do.
and 7 Pro share cases, right?
I don't think the 6 Pro and 7 Pro can fit
I
the
was
same
able to
cases.
swap. I swapped cases
I,
between
I
the
think you're
two.
incorrect. I now have this really fancy Peak
Peak
design,
design case. Yeah, let me see.
and I'm gonna put my Pixel 7 Pro in here. We're doing this live, folks.
We're
We did
doing it.
not rehearse this bit.
Absolutely.
I know
No,
it sounds like
no.
we're like scripting this.
And TK's
That's how
about to
good
look
we
like an
are
idiot, but yeah, let's
at just riffing on this stuff. I mean, we're professionals, so don't ever think that just
never.
because we make it look easy that it's really this easy.
No, no.
Uh,
All right, go
so
ahead.
I've got
Try.
my Pixel 7 in there, and I don't know that this really fits.
I
Like the
mean,
phone is in there,
yeah, it's in
but
there.
I can see where like the camera bar frame is starting to
Eh,
like
ever so,
bend.
ever so small, but it's stronger than the plastic in that case. For me, I was using the clear TPU case that I had,
Uh
the
huh.
one I was covering with my 6 Pro, and because it's
Yeah.
such a thin case, it kind of stretched to fit
Okay.
the frame.
So
But
this
yeah,
is a more rigid frame.
it seems
They're
like it's
they're just
much
off
smaller.
enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I would not recommend that. And Michael Peppertech is saying the volume and power buttons are slightly off. There's just a slight offset. So if you've got a stretchy case,
Yeah,
I think
it
that could
should.
work because it
Should be
needs to
safe.
stretch over the slight difference in Pixel
Hmm.
7 Pro. If you've got a rigid case, I think your 7 Pro is going to stretch out the case. So hopefully now my Pixel 6 Pro fits back in there snugly and it
Yeah, you know what,
doesn't like
Michael's
mess up.
absolutely right. The volume rocker is quite a bit off. The power button's a little bit. For me, it was more. I mean, yeah, but again, I'm referring to a flimsy, blah 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 kind of thing.
Yeah.
As
That
just
I
for the
think would
audio
be
podcast, I am flailing
blah blah
around
blah
a
blah
blah
blah.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Imagine a case
That
going around.
that I think you're absolutely correct in that
Yeah, yeah.
if it has just enough give to stretch a bit, totally
Hmm.
fine. I would not keep my Pixel 7 in a more rigid case. LFA reviews. Best of OI week. Do you guys need me to have real cases delivered to you both from Amazon? No janky cases on a Pixel
No,
7
no.
Pro.
So I had a
We
few
have
companies reached
standards on
out.
Team Pixel.
We
Standards, TK.
Oh crap! We're failing Team Pixel. So for everybody in Team Pixel, we do apologize. And full
Yeah.
disclosure, obviously, thank you very much to Google for sending over our Team Pixel and Made by Google to sending over the Pixel 7 Pro as well as the Pixel Watch for us to be able to review. So there's as well as a little disclosure in the bottom just to make sure everybody's copacetic and we are compliant. I'd throw that in there. Why not? But yeah,
Sure.
so as you and I are talking, I'm actually setting up the Pixel Watch on the Pixel 7 Pro
Oh,
because
nice.
I had initially set it up on my
Yeah.
Pixel 6 Pro.
I'm
Uh,
I went straight to Pixel 7 Pro with my
yeah, yeah,
Pixel Watch.
yeah.
I took it off the charger at 8 a.m. I've done almost nothing that would require a smartwatch, like practically no type of smart interactions,
Okay.
just passive notifications, and I did get about 4,500 steps, but not with any actual fitness tracking. We're talking the most minimal use you could put
Oh,
a
you
smartwatch
you
through,
did a lot better than I did.
and
I'm not even close.
and my
I'm barely
watch
like
is down to 75%.
no problem. Did you turn
So
off
that's pretty good.
the modem? Did you go
Yes,
into the set?
LTE
Yeah,
is disabled because I don't have
I did the
LTE
same thing.
on,
Yeah, that
so
one of the first
my
thing I
use
did
would be
is
more like a Wi-Fi Bluetooth device for sure.
yeah. I mean, and I can technically turn it on. I do have a smartwatch account on my T-Mobile side,
Oh,
and
that's right.
I may turn that on. But so here's where I'm concerned. The battery rating that they gave us was initially mentioned in reference to the GPS or the Bluetooth connected one.
Hmm.
The larger one doesn't have a larger battery. It's the same size battery. So all they did
Yeah.
essentially is add the radios. So for me, I want to run it for a few days with the GPS, and then at some point I'll switch it over, and then I can always toggle it on and off. Not a lot
I
of
keep thinking,
functionality. Yeah,
yeah, I keep
there
thinking
isn't really
like,
like what do you
man,
like
I really want to like go out for a run and only take my watch and have.
music
That's
streaming is about
never.
the only so the only thing that would work is Spotify Music as well as YouTube Music. So if you want those, you want to stream, not load up music on the 32 gigs of storage here, or I think much less obviously. Then yeah, this would be the thing to do. But
Yeah.
otherwise, no. I mean, I've had LTE watches before.
Nah.
They're limited to about 2 gigs, and I don't even know why they give you that much because you can't really run too much, and it's an LTE, not a 5G. So anyways, long
Yeah.
story short,
Nah.
it will be great, but I keep it off. Yeah.
Nah. I keep hoping for the dream to be realized where for a couple hours I can leave my phone at home and
Yeah.
have my communication,
Your calls, your
notifications,
messages,
everything
or and things like that.
properly linked,
Yeah, yeah.
and it never seems to. I mean, even back to like which Huawei watch was it? The Huawei Watch 2 that we played with
I like
way
no
back
the
in the
first
day.
the best looking Huawei watch to date is the original Huawei watch. It's the
No,
one
the
that came
original
out.
is the best looking. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's the black, like perfectly cylindrical. But I think it was
yeah.
the Huawei Watch 2 where you could just pop in a SIM card, and for a
Oh,
while
you're
you could
going.
just run it like on its own setup. And
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, we kind of missed all of that. Now these watches still feel like they desperately need a host device, and the functionality off that host device without that host device being nearby is radically diminished. Where I've got my daughter's TikTok watch,
Mhm.
and this is basically just a fully contained smartphone on a wrist, and it's not that much bigger than like a grown up. I can't get my camera to focus like
Nope,
this. It's still going to catch my
your
face.
nose. Yep, your nose is in the picture, man.
Let me see if I can.
I'll
I
set up
mean,
Google
it's
Pay
it's
later.
chunky, but it's not that much chunkier than a lot of like rugged adult watches.
Hmm.
And again, this is a wholly self-contained compute device.
Yep.
I, she can make phone calls and text and play little games and GPS and step tracking. If we could just add a heart rate sensor, I mean, it even has like the little play. Like we have a cheap MVNO plan. It's like $10 a month for have her
Yeah,
for her
that's
to
exactly how
have
much my package is with
minutes and
T-Mobile.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
10. It's
So
basically yeah.
but this doesn't need another. It doesn't need a parent device. It doesn't need a host device.
You can
And that's
just
the
keep
thing
it.
that's killing me is like I want a grown up version of this.
Hmm.
That's it. I mean I love Android Wear. I love having this as like an offshoot, a notification system for my phone. But it's silly. I've got a kid's device that actually does this job
Much,
better.
much more.
For
Yeah.
all the promises of what LTE watches claim they can do, they can't.
No,
And
and
here's a really
it's
cheap kids. It's
been
not really cheap. It's actually kind of an expensive kids watch, but it
yeah, yeah.
does the gig. Even has
I
cameras on it and speakers, and like I can connect devices over Bluetooth. It's got a Wi-Fi radio. I mean, it is a phone on your wrist, and I
yeah.
want that back because we haven't really had that since the Galaxy Gear days.
Oh my God,
And
you
you know,
still
like,
have that one? Yeah, I know. I
yes,
remember
I
that
still
one.
keep it charged. This is the watch I actually use whenever, the very few times I'll pull out like my Galaxy S10.
Yeah,
It still supports
the
newer
Galaxy.
galaxies, sort of. We used to have it so good, and now this is just sort of become more regressive and reductive. I blame Apple, but
I,
anyway, we
no, no,
could probably talk about more fun things.
yeah, no, no. So for us, we did. So we got access, to, obviously, to the LTE version, which was a nice little bonus there. I actually, for some reason, I thought they were going to send us the GPS version, but either way, if you disable the LTE modem, it just for the most part, for the better part, it like runs the exact. I wouldn't mind coming back to Juan's next time.
Don't come on, read the comment, TK. I wouldn't
Coming
mind
back
coming back
as
as
I
Juan's
heard it. I
daughter
heard
my
it.
next
Yeah, I know.
time
I
around.
was like coming back too.
I
I'm
don't
like,
think Gary's trying to pick up on my 6-year-old. You made it weird. It
I
just got kind of
Yeah, it
awkward
is.
there.
It's
So
been a long day, and I do apologize to Lex. I did not mean to take it that direction that quickly. 4, 5, 10 minutes into the show or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's
so
been
yes. See, even Jeff's like, sir.
sir. It's
So, Pixel 7 Pro,
yeah,
we've had it for basically a full 24-hour period. That
roughly.
means
Yes.
we're ready to give you our full long-term review, all of the
Yeah.
comparisons with every other phone, and to tell you why you should just buy a Sam Apple instead. I mean, basically, that's all the information we needed. I just needed to be able to hold the phone while I shoot pretty B-roll of it, like panning across my office, and yeah. So pretty much story over at this point.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Actually, you
Yeah,
did pretty decently considering what you've been able to do in the last 24 hours. You did a lot more.
I
A
was
lot
up
more.
so late.
You did early benchmark numbers. You
Oh,
did
I'm
the
so
cinematic
tired.
versus like versus HDR. I mean, you did more actual work than what I actually was able to put out in the first 24 hours because I didn't get my entire package or my packages in the same day because for some reason, although they were ordered in the same order, the last package got in. So I got the Teampixel thing, but I also had a few
Hmm.
extra things coming in. And a few of my friends had their stuff, which didn't show up till today. So I didn't have the preparation, and this is why I'm still saying I'm setting up the Pixel Watch right now. But
Yeah,
I mean, overall, from the overall, just the general day worth of usage, I actually didn't take other than like maybe 3 or 4 pictures, not enough to even qualify saying how the cameras are. It
yeah,
just feels familiar for me right now. It's going from the 6 Pro to the 7 Pro, a lot of familiar terms, familiar gestures, functionalities. I like the few extra
sure.
modes in the camera. I love the fact that we have the motion option there. The cameras do seem to be a little bit better in the. By the way, did you update your camera or are you still running on
Oh
the
yeah,
original? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the first thing, and then there's also a system update that was pushed out that was not only
yeah,
for the watch but for the phone that you needed to
yeah. So
figure
the
out.
the watch update took almost 2 hours
Yeah, it
to
was.
to, to run yesterday. Google's gotta like wake up a few more hamsters. Once these phones are actually shipping, they've got to turn on a little bit more server capacity because the current slate of hamsters that they have running to operate
which
the
which
Pixel
primarily
Watch
which was
server
by
is
the way was
insufficient.
all Team Pixel. You're right.
Yeah,
Because I
that's not a lot.
and if it was slow
That's
there,
so the Pixel update ran like butter,
it
and
was a small one.
genuinely.
Yeah, it wasn't that. I think
But I mean, but everything. I don't know what your experiences have been, but from setting up the phone, getting the Whitestone Dome installed, the
yeah.
fingerprint sensor is nicely improved.
Oh,
It
good.
is it is significantly better than the Pixel 6a and Pixel 6 Pro after
Hmm.
training and retraining because I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
install that glass screen protector. It seems like from the Pixel 6 launch to the Pixel 6a launch to the Pixel 7, we've minimized the potential launch
Hmm.
bugs. Like every phone launches with issues, every phone needs that kind of first month polish,
Oh,
OTA,
absolutely.
scrub up update.
Hmm.
What I'm seeing on my Pixel 7 Pro now is very encouraging that it seems so far. I'm definitely someone who I feel is sort of affected by this issue,
Yeah.
but a number of people complaining about significant power draw from the display. So if
Yes.
we're seeing any power savings on Tensor 2, if the new modem is helping us save power, unfortunately this brighter screen at 120 hertz is eating into all of that efficiency. And so my Pixel 7 Pro is not getting fantastic battery life in its first days. I expect that that will improve as the
I
phone
absolutely,
goes through
yeah.
a
As
few
as
charge
you
cycles,
well, you get
but
out
it
of also the
definitely
setup
needs
period, that the initial first
but
24 hours. Yeah.
but it definitely needs just a bit of power management polish on some of these other accessories. So I'm going to be testing out the modem soon. I'm going to be doing some camera comparison soon.
Absolutely.
But the thing that is a little concerning to me is as I'm using it outside and that screen is cranking bright, I mean, it's like I'm watching the battery drop.
Drop.
It is a bit more aggressive than I was expecting it to. But all in all, this is radical improvement for first days on a Pixel from where we were on the Pixel 6. So I'm
Oh
very
yeah.
much inclined to call
The
this
improvements in Android, from Android
progress.
12 to Android 13 that we've seen over the year has definitely, it's like what
Oh
we
yeah.
saw with the Pixel 6a. It was a much smoother experience getting into it, setting it up, using it,
I
a
mean, you
lot
just
less.
had to suffer looking at a 60 hertz screen, and every time I do that, I instantly throw up through my nose. I mean, it's really the worst. And
I've been meaning to talk to you about that. We need to get you some help.
yeah,
I mean, and it is not realistically something we need to live with.
nah,
I've heard many people, just returning it, just
yeah,
calling it quits
rightfully so.
from day
You
one.
know, for a phone that you can easily find for like less than $350, often free on contract, we should not suffer a compromise that would normally only affect someone who would normally shop like $1,100 phones.
Absolutely, flagship all the way. That's
That's
how
how
it
you
is.
compare phones. Is you hold up a $450 full MSRP, often found for half that price on sale phone, and you set it side by side a $1,200 phone, and then you complain about how the $1,200 phone has a feature that the $400 phone does not. And that's tech reviewing. I mean, if you want to be popular on YouTube and make lots of money on YouTube, that's how you do it.
Summarized quite
True
nicely,
story.
my friend. True story.
I'm
Um,
not singling out anyone in particular. Perish the thought.
I don't know how to follow that. I don't. Okay, I'm with you.
There's no yes and.
Yeah, and then like I'm like, to you, sir. Yes. No. Go ahead.
So I do want to pick your brain because we
Sure.
do need to talk about Pixel Watch, but while we're still sort of dancing around Pixel 7 with terrible comedy because that wasn't really funny.
Very bad comedy, but yes.
What have been some of your early experiences just kind of poking around? Because I did my initial suite of video rendering and
Yeah,
audio
I
mix
was
down and all
I
that,
was I was
but I'd
surprised
kind
at
of like
those
to
numbers.
hear because that's not really use. I mean, this is the thing that bothers is like I feel my performance testing is more real world because I'm trying
Mhm.
to use actual apps that other people can
Well,
use,
because no,
but that's
because
not
you have to keep in
really.
mind that's something you use. So that's the thing for us,
Yes, I
because
do this.
when we use
Yes,
these devices, we are not using them just to make calls. We're you use them to produce
sure,
content. I mean, heck, on was it
absolutely.
Wednesday? I don't know why I'm
Yeah,
pulling a
Microsoft
blank
Day.
here. On Tuesday, we did it. We
Yeah,
shot the whole show,
soup to
and
nuts
weirdly,
on a Xiaomi.
my
Yeah,
my entire recording of my although my face doesn't show up in the video, the audio and the entire video originally was shot on the on the A7 IV. Yeah, A7. No, no, not A7 IV. Xperia 1 Mark IV. It's the other. Oh my God, I'm bad. So I shot the whole thing with the mobile. We've been having a lot of work at the house, so I could not record this, and it took me a good part of today to get this somewhat looking roughly what it looked like before.
right.
So, yeah, no, I mean, we use our devices to produce content, to edit content, to render.
Sure.
So for me, yeah, I create a lot of all my reels are created on device, and
Hmm.
I need that horsepower, and I need to be able to, and I
So
know that's, I'll say this, performance wise, I didn't notice any difference yet. I haven't
right.
put it through its paces yet, unfortunately. Uh,
So
good
no,
part
no,
of me,
not that.
yeah, yeah,
Let's not do the. I haven't found any problems, and there aren't things I haven't done. I, because I did a whole bunch of tests.
yeah.
I don't feel I have a good sense of using the phone because even my
Mhm.
tests being real world are tests. Like I don't. I like using a real world app to batch process a ridiculous number of photos so I can time the change over time and
Yeah, yeah.
see what kind of thermal throttling. But even for me aggressively using my phones, that's not really use. that's a test. So I was just kind of curious. I mean, like, have you tried firing up any games? What have you done on the phone so far while you've just been setting it up? And just
Listening to music and honestly enjoy and trying to find all the different features in there because I'm trying to discover and honestly just kind of pull the reference of where it is because I came from the 6 Pro
right,
going into the 7 Pro. Like I said, a lot of familiar grounds, but then I also want to find those little unique nuggets that are available in
for
the
sure.
7 Pro. So yeah, I mean, like playing around with the camera, took some pictures in there, but trying to find the different modes, listening to music, setting it up. I didn't get a chance to set up the watch till late this afternoon because I was trying to finish up. I 20 minutes before we went live, I posted 2 videos. I was
Yeah.
literally like trying to and trying
I'm
to kind of
shocked, man. I've
I
not been able to do like 2 videos in a day for so
well, I mean,
long.
it's
Like,
very
even
they're
just
not
making
very
the
good.
thumbnail makes me want to smash my face into the keyboard. And you're like, I'm not doing that twice in one day. Thank you, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I was so lazy. I literally all I did is I post the picture that I took from the phone. It wasn't even there's no captions, there's nothing. I'm letting the picture speak
Perfect.
for
I
itself.
love
I
it.
will fix that in the morning. But no, like between getting hardware, getting things in there, setting up, cleaning up, putting things in there. So music has been my primary listening to it. So putting some audio buds in there, the brand new Buds Pro 2,
Mhm.
the Pixel Buds, definitely very nice.
How have your experiences been? Because the Pixel 6 Pro was good, but it was a phone that would regularly fall prey to my Faraday cage of an ass. So if I keep the Pixel
I'll
Pro in
say
my
distance was good for me. I didn't put it in the back
okay,
pocket. I had it in my office
no,
because
but
I
that's
had it.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
The 6
So
Pro wasn't nearly as bad as like the Surface Duo. The Duo 2 was one of those like if I turned too aggressively, sometimes the Bluetooth audio would stutter and skip. But the
I
Pixel 6 Pro was one of those like it did not like
mhm.
trying to signal from my ears to my back pocket, which when I'm walking around, I'll often keep a phone in a back pocket just because it feels a little bit more like a holster.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're finding that the distance
Overall,
is
yeah, about 10 to 15 feet away with a wall between me and this and the earbuds. So I had the
that's
phone
good.
sitting in the office. I get out of the office, come back in, walk back and forth. It's just because I'm moving around and I'm putting things back. I didn't want to have the phone in my back pocket and have it slip. I saw
For
one of our
sure.
buddies over on Twitter that unfortunately his 7 Pro dropped and the display was shattered. So I was
Yep.
like, yeah, like I did not install. Let's say this: I did not install the dome glass on it, so I'm not very confident. I barely put a case on it. I have the leather case, the Belroy one as well. Um, I need I need to cover the display. It makes me
Hmm.
antsy because even on the 6 Pro, and it's hard to show on this, but I have like edge cracks on the edges right here from like drops sometimes. So that makes me antsy. So for those things, I'll say this: audio seems to be fine. If the couple of pictures that I took, obviously, are just what I'd expect from Google cameras.
Hmm.
Portrait was really good, and then the other thing I loved about it is capturing the cat because I was trying to see how my cat because as I was setting it up. So overall, I mean, I'll know more by tomorrow. Sorry about that for coughing in there. But I think so far it's been a positive turn. Once I realized that there's an update for the camera because I was having a little bit of crashes because it doesn't pop up right away when you first open it up.
Nope.
You have to just stand still for a second. Man, sorry. And now do something for the notification to come up and say, "Hey, there's an update. Would you like to do so?" You click that and it opens up the pop-up and it kind of gets
Whereas
you going.
I'm just that dude who's overly obsessed with like digging through, not just finding. I don't just go to Google Play and say look for updates.
Yeah.
I will also go to individual app pages because sometimes there's an update that's ready that Google doesn't actually alert you to.
Oh,
So if
yeah,
they're my mission critical apps and things like the camera on a Pixel, I will go to Google Camera in Google Play and like, do you have an update? Because if you're not, if it's ready, I just want it now.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
I'm with
I
you.
was definitely trying to work everything as up to date as I possibly could. The camera performance has been good.
I
The
mean,
thing I
we had
really
good
need to
weather. That
test.
was decent for it.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
great weather.
yeah, yeah.
The one thing is that's exciting. Actually, I mean, can I? So one of the things that's tricky about this is normally I would maybe try and screen share,
I
and I
know.
can't because there's
No,
still no video out, and that drives me nuts.
no, you can charge other
Fingerprint sensor's
devices
better.
from it. That was one thing I could, because as I was
Cool.
transferring my data to it, it was pulling power like tremendously. And I was
But
like, oh,
I have the new U Perfect, the wireless
hmm
laptop dock. can't
Oh,
use it with the
nice.
Pixel still. So even though it's wireless, I can't even like
Can,
Miracast it.
you can probably Chromecast it, but yeah, no, I know what you mean. You can't. You can do
Nah,
screen sharing.
not. I mean, like I can't Chromecast. It doesn't have a Chromecast built into it, so
That's
the
true.
phone can't see what's.
You.
Yeah, it just
I'm with
it
you.
bothers me because this is such a powerful device, and it's always been one of those things that I feel kind of holds it back when there's no wired or sort of open standard wireless way
Absolutely.
to do that. But anyway, so here I'm just going to kind of shoot a terrible video of my bookshelf back over here. But this is 4K at 60 frames per second, so 4K 60.
Hmm.
We cannot do 10-bit, so you can't do the 10-bit HDR
Not
at
on 4K
4K
60.
60.
4K 30 is what you get.
But notice that all the lenses show that they can be used.
Hmm.
So already that's an improvement over the Pixel 6 Pro, which could only really do 4K 60 from the
Yeah.
main camera,
Main
and then you'd have
camera.
to install a third-party app if you wanted 4K 60 from the companion sensors. But now I'm going to push record, and you can still see all the camera sensors are still there. I'm
Pop out.
recording video right now, and I'm going to push the ultra wide, and it just flipped to the ultra wide.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's pretty cool. And then I can do the 2 times. That's a pixel recropping from the main sensor. And now I'm going to push the 5 times. Come on. I'm trying to do this
Live.
without being able to see. Hold on. Nope. Come on. I tried to make that really smooth, and I'm really not that good at doing hand choreography when I can't see the screen. No, God, flipping.
Fudgesticles and all the other things. No, it's
So there's 5,
yeah.
and it just flipped again, and so it is now recording not just a 5 times crop from the main sensor. That is
It's
5
jumping over
times.
them from the telephoto. Yep.
So that was all one clip. I mean, even me stumbling and struggling and stuff, I haven't stopped
You're,
recording
you're still
to
recording
flip
in the same
those.
clip. Yeah.
So this is, as far as I know, I believe this is the only Android phone that can switch between all 3 sensors in 4K 60 in one video clip. I don't know if there's another one that can do 4K 60 across all 3.
Typically,
Usually you only get 2
one, yeah,
sensors that'll
we
play
get 2
back and
sensors.
forth.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to remember. I can't put my finger on one specifically, but I remember last year we didn't have that. We had the ability of jumping between the main and the telephoto, and you could see when it snaps
Mm-hmm.
between the main and the telephoto, it just readjusts. I'm like, boop, okay, now I'm using the right sensor. But it's nice to be able to get the ultra wide in there. I mean, it's not as powerful, but you could definitely see the main
Well, and
pickup
this
here.
ultra wide, it kind of makes sense because now we have autofocus and macro mode support. This is an ultra wide that I think is going to be more usable than last year's Pixel 6 Pro. I'm trying to
Oh, really?
think, like, for 4K 60, I believe OnePlus phones could switch between 2 sensors.
Yes.
I know the Honor Magic 4 Pro can switch from the main sensor to the telephoto.
Okay.
And I know that Xiaomi and Sony can do smooth zoom in 4K 30.
Yep. So Xiaomi.
So the Xiaomi
I
will
was gonna
go
say,
across all 3 sensors, and the Sony will go across all 3 sensors, but only at 4K 30. So as far as I know, I think this is it.
Yeah.
iPhones can't do it. Samsungs can't do it. If you want to keep recording your video clip, and this is clever because if we really look at the current state of SoC design, the components that are going into our camera processing hardware, typically we're really only locking in 2 sensors at a time.
Yeah. So
And what the
Samsung
Pixel does
too.
is
You're
really
right.
clever in
Ultra
that
wide in me.
when you go from the main sensor to the telephoto, it starts with a pixel crop from the main sensor and
Of
then
course.
pops you over
Yeah.
to the telephoto. That's really smart because it's probably keeping the ultra wide in reserve,
Mm-hmm.
so that if you switch back, you saw I switched back to the ultra wide, it immediately goes to the ultra wide. But then if I go from the main sensor to the telephoto, it's using the main sensor and it's probably turning the ultra wide off, or however this is being managed on the phone. Another reason why shooting video like this is a really aggressive and a very taxing process on our phones. You're kind of keeping multiple sensors running, or at least on, when you might not normally need to.
Yeah.
But
No.
the transition is a little jarring as you switch from one sensor to the other, but it's doing it for real, and I think that's what's helped managing keeping all three active, so that you don't have to turn off a clip to switch sensors. I'm very impressed because it's a clever solution to a very small usability irk that I've had, I don't know, since the LG V50.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're only just now getting back to Android phones that consistently shoot good 4K 60 frame per second video across multiple sensors.
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's
And I think
nuts.
that's the biggest the improvements that we've seen here, obviously the heavy focus on the cameras. Some of the other areas that we noticed, obviously, you were talking about performance and comparing it to Tensor One with the Pixel 6a. I
Hmm.
think what I'm enjoying here is the fact that it's like literally out of the box, like we said, it's more comfortable. It's less jarring, less concerning, less
Yeah.
issues, and not having as much. But that's again due to the fact that the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro took the majority of that at the beginning with a lot of conversations. The 6a came out, benefiting from 12L, and now we have Android 13 that builds on top of that. So the
Hmm.
Android ecosystem is actually up to the point where we were expecting it last year. So that's also
Yeah.
the benefit. But I love the fact that the camera stack is pretty decent. We have, the ability of shooting 4K on the front again. I mean, we had that
Hmm.
last year, but it's still nice to be able to shoot 4K. External audio sources, just the
I
powerhouse.
did I
Did
did
you?
that cinematic camera test. So cinematic video and then also 10-bit HDR. And I'm cutting back and forth between the two just to kind of show some differences. And I was wearing one of my Rode
Mhm.
mics just in case. The audio on the Pixel 7 Pro, the Pixel 6 Pro was great.
Mhm.
The audio is even better on the
So
Pixel 7
so
Pro.
that's
When
good
it does
good
that
to
speech
mention.
highlighting, it's so good.
So on the
It's some of the best processing I've heard.
okay, I take that back. There is only one microphone. There was so we did have an extra sensor in the back for the Pixel 6 Pro, right? That I don't think transferred over. Was that more the laser focus, the autofocusing laser system?
I don't
Oh, no,
know.
no, no. I take that back. They moved it between the two
I don't
sensors.
think we lost anything from there, did we?
No, no, no. It was just slightly moved. So in the 6, they had it
No,
between
it
the
just moved in
telephoto,
between the main sensor and
the
the
main
ultra
and the
wide.
ultra, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just realized. Sorry. Yeah, see, that's what happened. You look for things and you think they moved and they're gone, and they're like, no, TK, it's there. You just got to keep looking. It's been a tough thing. Google's utilizing the part of their chip that handles the camera and the advancement of the making their own SoC, not relying on the TPU GPU anymore. That image processing segment handles. So yeah, Michael
Yeah,
Peppertech jumping in with that.
but above just keeping
Hmm.
4K video on the front camera, it is also matched. So it's 4K 60, which is, I believe, is there? I want to say there's a phone that can, in a single clip, also switch from a rear camera to a front camera. So
It,
we can't do that.
I want to say no. That
But
that should be this one. The
it's
the
pretty rare
Xperia, no?
that
The
any
Xperia.
phone really does have matched 4K 60 across all cameras. I
Mhm.
believe the iPhone might be one of the only ones. iPhone
4K.
and the Galaxy S22 Ultra,
I was gonna say,
I
well,
think, are the only ones.
even the Fold, I think, shoots 4K 60 on the front. The
Oh, it
outside
does.
camera, yeah, the outside camera,
Oh, the
obviously,
outside. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, right, right.
Because we have
Sorry.
a yeah.
So Fold, S22 Ultra, and iPhone. So now Pixel joins that, but Pixel joins it with being able to switch all three rear cameras in a single clip.
In a single clip. So
So
definitely improvements in there, and I'm loving the fact that because I want to. That's what I'm doing this weekend. So in where we live in the area where we are, there is part of Caltech and JPL. They have open house, so sometimes they allow people to come in. We're finally back to that, so they open back their doors, and we got some tickets for this weekend. So I'm really going to be looking forward to trying to shoot some of that content there this weekend, focusing on it, family time, getting, just getting that
yeah.
lived in experience. I know embargoes was yesterday morning, but now comes in Teampixel with real life usage, and we'll be able to contribute that conversation. And
How
I love the
how
video.
how many eye rolls have you done watching news outlets write Pixel 7 Pro reviews on purely embargo
Purely on
hardware?
embargo hardware and probably
I
embargo
mean, embargo
software.
hardware and software.
Software,
So,
yeah, yeah, no, no, absolutely. Because I even saw somebody posting that they had the Pixel 7 Pro and they were using it for like 3 weeks and so on. But I think that was mostly European area. No, I
yeah.
mean, so look,
But again, it's 3 weeks before we'd gotten patches and updates and all
yeah,
of the things that Google's really good at making the phone better. So
and they typically, most companies will always, like they try to see the hardware to people a little early, but they always give you a heads up, like, hey, software is going to get updated like a few days before we launch, because that's final.
and they're like,
Software
we
doesn't
don't care.
deliver.
We already wrote your review. We just took our Pixel 6 Pro review and changed the 6 to a 7, and we're just going to republish that.
It was a little bit tough, and after a while, I kind of just
I'm
stopped.
not
But
singling out anyone specifically.
absolutely, no, we're not trying to
Perish the
speak in that.
thought.
The initial reviews, you're always going to get a little bit of a mixed bag. Some people are going to like it. Some people are going to try to find things in it. Again,
No,
it's
TK, you're being
delivering.
too kind. No one should be posting on day one of an embargo a review. This is absolutely not how the phone will ever be used by the consumers who are really paying their money to
Yeah,
get the
no, I'm with
phone.
you.
The updates roll after this stuff is in their hands.
No,
The
literally,
phone
we got it on day
functions
one, and I'm sure not
better.
everybody got the updates in there at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
no, we
Yeah,
were still saying, like, people were still complaining about camera crashes as the Teampixel people were getting their phones, which meant you had not updated your phone. So if you're posting anything which is even somewhat resembling a review, you're full of crap. Now,
right.
TK can be kinder. TK is going to be more diplomatic about this. I'm just going to say, if your article on the Pixel 7 Pro, which was published on embargo day, has the word review in it, then you are terrible at tech, and no one should ever, subscribe or follow or read through your publication ever again. That's
No,
all I'm saying.
it is
With
a
respect, you're awful, and I hate you. Not
it
you,
to
TK. I
me.
mean the proverbial
I
you. Yeah.
the general different. No, I'm with you, and I think this is the biggest challenge with any company, with any device that's released. How long have you had it? How long have you had it with final software, and how realistically is it a review?
Sure.
I'm and the reason why I'm
There's
kind
so
of
many
like
things that you can do. You can do an
yeah,
intro,
yeah,
you can do a
you could
hands-on, you can do features
absolutely.
and
I
highlights.
actually did an
Calling
unboxing. I went
something a
back to doing an
review
unboxing.
means you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
coming to a conclusion on the product in a completely unfinished state that no consumer will really interact with. That's why I was frustrated with the Pixel 6a launch, is because people did get their phones with a significantly out-of-date security patch, and
Mhm.
there was no day one update. So for 2 weeks,
We
there
all were
was a
running.
frustration factor, and
Yeah,
then we jumped directly to Android 13. So I
we
can
barely lived
appreciate in that
into
two
to Android
week
12.
window,
Yeah.
you could have worked in. I published a review before I went to the Android 13 beta. I had to publish a review. I was on a deadline,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
it
that's right. You
was
did
in a
the
state that
reviews are
consumers were
open.
using it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's how the phone would have been in consumers' hands. But in the review, I at least try to acknowledge, like, I'm on the Android 13 beta. Everything's running better.
Mhm.
I cannot believe that the state this phone was in on Android 12 is going to be very long lived. And literally, like days after I published that review,
Android 13
we
was
got kicked over to
officially in.
Android 13.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Google went
but
pretty
the
early on
Pixel
that.
7 Pro is different. That was on shakier software during the embargo period. Good thing you got the phone for weeks beforehand, for those of you who were a part of that kind of press. But day one, all of that work you did to complain about bugs or software or what needs to be cleaned up or polished, well, your content is already immediately out of date. It's already
I-
incorrect for how
Incorrect,
people will
but
really use that
but the
phone.
but the challenge is that that's the content that's out there. That's the problem. The concern is that
Yeah, well,
when you
and
go in there, those are the day
yeah,
one at when the peak of interest is like when we were talking about it
yeah,
yesterday.
we're already
the-
rounding the top. If you look up Pixel 7 on Google Trends, we're already starting to crest the plateau. So the search interest in that term is already kind of peaked. Like that's as big as it's going to get.
Yeah, no, we're hitting the it's typical how it is, right? As soon as consumers get the device in hand, the interest starts dropping because there's not that high search. Everybody already has the device. They're looking at it in their
Mm.
hand. They're not necessarily looking for content about it. I understand, and then and then moving on to the next hot things coming out. I think at the end, what I would say at this point is what we have with the Pixel and the at least with this launch. I want to say, of course, I feel like we're lucky. We're very, blessed to be part of Teampixel. We are able to get access to the hardware. We're hopefully be able to provide our inputs into this and how this experience is going to be shaped by how it's an ecosystem now, not just necessarily a device, right? This is one of the first years where we have a brand new smartphone come out. We have brand new buds that came out literally about a month ago. And then you have a brand new watch from the same thing. So it's an ecosystem of content. And oh, okay. I was like, what is Juan doing in the middle of all of this? He's like shifting. Okay, so we are in Google Trend, and yeah, we're starting to plateau. Dang it.
Yeah. So now that
Yeah,
we have
it's
the
no longer in.
phone,
Yeah,
our ability to make videos that can find audience and reach people and join this conversation is at its maximum, and we're just getting started. So
yeah,
all the
yeah.
people that had the phone from say back here, the end of September and the beginning of October,
Hmm.
if any of them are talking about conclusively about what that phone looks like or what it resembles or how it performs, all of their information is out of date. But they were able to go to press with that information at the maximum effectiveness. They get to make the most money on their content. They get to find the most audience, the highest number of eyeballs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone is now trying to scramble to correct their bad information.
And hope that the people that buy these devices or even thinking about buying these devices are doing a little bit more research than just going on the first clickable link that you get directly on the search, because
And
that's the
we
other
know
challenge.
that that's not really consumer behavior. And it's so frustrating because this year the launch was sort of broken up a
Hmm.
little bit differently than it was for the Pixel 6 Pro, and I think the Pixel 6 Pro had a better distribution of how reviewers could handle the phones. And
Yeah,
this year it seemed overly restrictive for some members of the community versus others. And now it's like people like us have to work 10 times harder to
absolutely.
catch up and correct for better information as things
And
evolve. And we're not
Brad,
talking about like, well, let me come back to the phone in 6 months.
no,
We're
they don't.
talking like day one.
Yeah, yeah,
Day
and exactly
one.
here, and they never go back
And
and
they won't
follow up
follow
on.
up.
No,
They won't do any
exactly. So
follow up.
their point of view on the phone is pretty much done on day one, and it's been a challenge. I think for me right now, what I want to focus on is to try to, like I said, explore some of the different things. I want to try gaming. I want to see how the experience is. I
Yeah.
remember at day one with the 6 Pro, Genshin was just having a very hard time. Tensor was not optimized. It would basically
Honestly,
start and just.
titles like that, even with the Pixel 6 Pro running really well, because I think
Mhm.
performance has improved significantly on the Pixel 6 Pro, one
You mean
of the
7 Pro?
only tangible, meaty differences that I can find between the 6 Pro and the 7 Pro is the 7 Pro has a noticeably beefier GPU.
And I think
And it's
that's the.
hilarious because if you benchmark it, like
It,
I finally got Geekbench running this morning and I
mhm.
was able to pop in a GPU test.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I
Uh,
didn't even run Geekbench. God,
Geekbench
how we live our life
Geekbench
using our phone.
tests the Pixel 7 Pro miserably. So
Oh,
a Pixel 6a is going to score like 7,000 ish
hmm.
in a Vulkan test. The Pixel 7 Pro for me topped out at like 4,400, which is like Snapdragon 855 territory. Like it's old phone territory. And so then I put my Pixel 6 Pro up against my Pixel 7 Pro in a game that I can very granularly control
Hmm.
the graphics settings.
Yeah.
So I pull up Bright Ridge Vandals,
Hmm.
and I just go nuts. Full resolution, full forest draw distance, the
Hmm.
maximum texture packs, like everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Pixel 6 Pro is chugging bad.
Okay.
Like 20 frames per second when you're just sort of standing still. You can kind of pop up to 30 frames per second if you're in a location where the draw distance is really minimal. Like if you're in a
Hmm.
building and you don't need to, animate mountains that are literally miles away from your character, then you can kind of get up to an almost playable frame rate. The Pixel 7 Pro doesn't quite match Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1s,
Hmm.
but it's easily 15 to 20 frames per second higher on
Higher. Okay.
average when I'm doing one of the most taxing GPU tests that I can set up on the phone with good trackable data. So everything else seems lateral. My Pixel 6a still wins most fights against the Pixel 7 Pro on CPU bound tasks.
Okay.
Like, Tensor 2 is feeling a bit more like a Tensor 1 Plus,
Mm-hmm.
not like a full
It's
new
not. It's not a fully.
silicon.
Yeah. I don't think this.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
That
It's really
it's
more of
like
a
if you took
refined.
Tensor 1
Yeah.
and you redesigned the casing on the phone for better thermal performance and you gave it a better modem so it doesn't have to run as hot, and
Mhm.
then you just sort of stapled on a better GPU, that's kind of what the Pixel 7 Pro is feeling like.
Kind of pretty.
That Pixel 6a increasingly dollar to performance is impressing more and more with
Yeah.
what it can
Oh,
really
absolutely.
accomplish.
Absolutely. For what you're getting with that price point, the camera, the experience, the post processing, everything that you're getting from Google, and the reality is, it's definitely a much better bang for the buck. Absolutely. Um, there's nothing against the 7. I think the 7 is going to be a good price mid-range pricing experience, even though it's running the
Yeah,
Tensor 2 with the main sensor and the ultra wide on it. But yeah, it's hard to beat the Pixel say right now as far as going from a budget
price to
standpoint.
performance. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, because you can get it for much lower than the 449. Like seriously, it's not. I mean, you'll and especially within another few weeks from now, we're gonna have Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and there's Prime Day coming in. There's a whole bunch of different discounts, and I want to say somewhere I was able to find the Pixel, even the Pixel 7 Pro, the base model, the 128 for 859 as opposed to 899. Like some places maybe
Yeah.
giving you some deals and stuff like that. So, and of course, carriers and all of that. This stuff. There's a lot of good indication that it's going to be great. I feel like optimization maybe a little bit also on the early end. That's one of the things. It's the first that we see this type of configuration. So maybe it may need a love for maybe one or two updates. Maybe
I,
the next monthly
I
update that
wholly
we get.
expect
Yeah.
that we'll see, because again, I mean, I don't. It bothers me when people seem to casually forget things like both on the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 5 generations of phones.
Hmm.
Google started off very conservative with the performance envelopes of those phones, and then within a couple months, magically on both of them,
Yeah.
magically found like 15% more CPU performance and like 10% more GPU performance, and it was legit.
Yeah.
Like I remember on the Pixel 5 firing up games and like, oh, I just got an extra 6 frames per second where this game used to kind of bottom out.
Hmm.
And like I don't have to do any fancy measuring. Like you can just literally see the game is performing better. So I expect that we'll see some of that polish and refinement. It's just in this very early out of the box state, as we're trying to build our opinions on the phone, as we're just trying to catch up
Yeah. Yeah.
on
No,
the
of course.
legit testing of all
Yeah.
of this, it is kind of interesting to see that they set their metric. Pixel 7 Pro out of the box feels almost identical to Pixel 6 Pro. And the one thing that you can kind of push and nudge and is more readily like accessible to consumers right now is it plays games a little better.
I I like the it plays games a little bit. No, I mean the reality is with every generational improvement, you're expecting a better improvement. But I think to start off with a baseline of a 6 Pro, where the 6 Pro is now, I think it's a pretty good start. Because when we started with the 6 Pro, it was not at the at the Pixel 5 level of experience. It was the first time Tensor was out. A lot of them unmodified or unupdated systems to run on that with the new processor. So we had a lot of hiccups there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a new version of Android that had a lot of promises that
Yeah.
weren't there at the
And
beginning.
Android 13 is not as dramatic a
No,
change as,
it's
yeah,
a very few subtle
for
graphical
sure.
changes, but then overall it literally feels like a 12. Again, like the 6, literally like the 7 Pro. It's an evolutionary
Mm-hmm.
update to what we got with the 6 Pro. The 7 Pro comes in. Um, I think for me, low light photography, the bokeh effect, we didn't get a chance to see that much of it that night last week when we were hanging out because she was trying to show it to us and it was just too dark. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I want to see some of that photography, take it out, go out and just use it in real world. So for me,
I mean, he says that with a Vivo X70 Pro Plus on his desk. Like, yeah,
I
I
think
totally want to see the low light. I mean, it's probably going to be good.
I will
Whatevs.
say that I like devices to
Can
be
I get someone
purposely
in the
used.
chat? Give me a hashtag Vivo Gang. Anyone in the chat? Just just if anyone feels inclined.
If anybody's, yeah,
Michael Pepper, Barry. I'm just, if you guys feel like that's something you'd maybe be interested
I
in
would say
doing.
like
Just
4-3-2 and insert hashtag video game. Um, so the biggest thing I would probably say is Pixel 7 Pro right now. We don't have access to the 7. We have the 7 Pro. And there you go. Barry Johnson for the win. And Michael
boom,
Peppertech. Yeah, right there. Michael Peppertech and people, everybody kicking it.
Greg,
Greg,
even
as I
Greg.
said, even Greg kicked it in there. I think my biggest thing I also want to see, and I didn't get a chance to test it out. I want to see how USB audio is being handled on the 7 Pro. The 6 Pro had some concerns, a little bit of stuttering every once in a while, but then it picked up afterwards.
Well,
Um,
and there was a
Especially with like the Onyx.
major issue. I need to do some measurements because there was a
Yeah, yeah.
major issue where it wasn't really. Uh, Words are failing me right now. You would plug in a really high quality DAC and it wasn't transferring the full signal of the audio file you were playing. It was still going
Yeah.
through the Android USB audio
Yeah, no, you're still running again.
process. I can't remember what word I'm trying to find there, but we definitely need to test that out too.
Yeah. So to me, those are the things when I talk about audio. Today I was using buds. Obviously, that's the most convenient way of doing it. But like if I was seriously like sitting down, listening and trying to do some work and stuff like that, typically I'll go wired. You know what I mean? I have my
Yeah.
THX Onyx, and I also have now obviously
I'm glad you brought up audio because I don't have a lot of good information to share yet. But coming soon to the channel, once I've done just a little bit more listening, will be a review on this guy, which is the iFi Griffin.
Look like a
my
power
camera
bank.
will focus.
Ah, no, dude, it looks like a flask.
This thing is a monster.
Yeah, I know, but it seriously, legitimately looks like a flask. Looks like you're about to go drinking.
Oh yeah, no, it's a big chunky boy, nice clicky, volume control knob right there. 4.4 millimeter balance connector, 3.5 millimeter headphone connector. Even has inputs, so it will be a digital DAC amp for anything that's connected over USB, or you can just use it as a really high quality amp if you want to run a balance connector or a 3.5 millimeter connector or a line level connector, which is really legit audio gear. And it has support for aptX, adaptive, and LDAC. So this can be a USB cabled headphone amp on your desk, or it's got enough battery, you can go and run it for a couple hours. The amps are pretty beefy, so you can't run it for long off of battery power, but it will work as a Bluetooth, kind of like a huge version of like the little iFi adapter or the Theo. So this is like a full-sized version of like a BTR 7 or something like that. So I'll be putting out a review on this. And one of the things I'm definitely going to be interested in seeing is what happens when I plug a Pixel into it, because Pixels didn't handle my THX very well last year.
And so that was the thing, the THX Onyx, because finally got my hands on the THX. It starts, it'll have a little bit of stutters, and then after a few minutes of music playback, if you don't do anything to it, it plays well.
Okay.
But like you said, the audio wasn't necessarily transferring the right way. It wasn't using the actual DAC. It was using the internal system to process the audio. So which is, you wanted to use the right application. Like for me, it only worked with Tidal. Like Tidal was the only app that would take control of the THX correctly. But again, still had a little bit of a stutter. So I want to see how that runs here. But overall, I think what I'm happy about is this, because I know we're kind of like roughly hitting about an hour on that one. The ecosystem right now works well together. There's no hiccups for me for the watch. There's no hiccups for the buds. The buds work well. The watch works well. The data transfers correctly between the like we were talking before. Setting up the watch didn't have to sign in for anything. I literally just said transfer this account, and then I put my fingerprint on on my main phone, and then boom, my account went to the watch, and everything was fine. And then transferring data even from my old Pixel to the new one was really smooth. Transferring over wire, content was transitioned correctly. All my account, all my stuff. I don't transfer media, but like, texts, all that good stuff transferred correctly. So for me, the transition is very nice and smooth. So I enjoyed that. And I'm hoping as time goes on, it gets a little bit more better and gooder as we expect.
better and gooder. Before we move on to Microsoft, what of because you've spent way more time playing with Samsung watches than I have. I mean, I've
Oh yeah.
played with them, but I haven't
Hmm.
really lived with them. And
I
so my daily driver was the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra,
so
which was
yeah,
just
I
recently on a stupid sale. I mean, it was like
crazy.
$150 off or something like that.
No, no,
So
absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
going from Wear OS 2 to
To
Wear
Wear
OS
OS 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, yeah.
The experience has been really nice. I like some of these changes that we're seeing. I think there's a lot of wasted space in these bubble
Hmm.
icons. And it's funny that our notifications are almost taking us back to the old cards interface
Little
that we
bit,
used to
yeah.
have on Android Wear
Yeah, exactly.
that I
Every time you
miss.
swipe it, it just keeps giving me like those swiping. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's the UI element on this. First, I'll say that is the shift from the 5 Pro, so from the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro to this, um, it felt a little bit weird because you got to remember Samsung heavily skinned Android here. So even though
Mm-hmm.
this is Android 3, it gets updated and it probably will be running Android here. And there's also a lot of comments on the web talking about the fact that there's a lot of Samsung-esque features in here, like the
Yeah.
internet browser. You're able to install Samsung internet browser on this somehow, and you can
Mm-hmm.
charge it with the charger for my 5 Pro charges the Pixel. The Pixel is like,
It's
okay,
funny, so much of
eh,
that hardware.
Exene. Oh, I'm sorry. What 911? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm choking on these things. But
Ugh,
yeah, you know what I
man,
mean.
it's just really dusty in here. I'm sorry, TK. I didn't mean to choke you up like that.
Same here. Sammy here. But what I would say is overall it feels nice. I will say one thing though, that it's a little bit off for me on my watch, on the Samsung watch. I'm able to see the Nest Cam a little bit better than I see it on the Pixel watch, and I don't know if it's an
Okay.
update type of a thing. Like if I get a notification from my watch or for my front camera and basically shows me something on on here, I'm able to see it as a an image, like a motion. And it basically, sometimes it'll give it to me, and I think with even WhatsApp, sometimes it goes into, and I don't know why I have WhatsApp messages now. You know what I mean? Like it'll show me the preview image. But overall, um, I need to get used to the whole Fitbit functionality because Fitbit is a very big part of here.
Yeah.
Where in the past we used
I
to have
have
Google
not
Fit
rocked
a
a
little bit,
Fitbit in so long.
and it's been a while. No, same here. It's like I have to. So when you're setting it up, you set up the app, and if you want to use the Fitbit, you have to download the separate app, which is the Fitbit app. That's going to be the running of the health and tracking and all of that. So what I would probably say is that part is just you need to get used to it. Samsung for me was easy because it felt like touch, the One UI experience that
Hmm.
came over from earlier. That when we were running on when we weren't running on Wear OS, this feels new, but I like it. It works well with the system. I will probably say my
Yeah.
only thing, if there was one thing I would say, is I wish we had a bigger footprint. My wrists,
Yeah.
apparently I run really big wrists because I'm used to the bigger watch. I work much better. This one feels a little bit small, but it
Well,
feels like a Fitbit.
I
That's what I'm saying.
I have tiny little hobbit hands, and even I feel this is a bit small.
It's a little bit small.
So here's what I feel is
I'll say that
I
my
think
wife is
Google
eyeing it right already. So I'll just say that right now. My wife has been,
Marie thinks it looks really cool,
yeah.
and if we see a refreshed Tick Watch, honestly, I'm probably gonna go with that, just because
Oh,
even trading
absolutely.
the best software experience. I really love this like 3 days of battery life, and if any of the rumors about the new Qualcomm chip are
Absolutely.
accurate, we
I'm
could be
yeah,
looking at a TicWatch with 4 to 5 days of runtime on a single charge
with the
with
dual
Wear
display.
OS. So
Exactly.
Marie might end up with this, and she's got a Pixel 4a 5G, and I think that'll be a really good combo. But this really feels like to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, because we're
Sure.
both trying to get back into shape and being a bit more active and stuff.
Absolutely, man. It's tough, but
It
yeah.
feels a lot like taking a Fitbit, because those are smaller faced fitness trackers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
trying
That's
to
just it.
make a circular face for a Fitbit. That's
It
what it
it
feels
it
like
it
to me.
feels like yeah. So I'll say this. Where the collaboration was basically touted as, obviously this is the first time we're seeing Fitbit show up on Google's side because they bought Fitbit. Um, yeah, it truly feels more of a Fitbit with Wear OS, and more so than a Wear OS that happens to have Fitbit. So it's more of that
Yeah.
Fitbit-esque feeling. The Versa, the different experiences. If you've ever used Fitbits, and my wife used to use them a lot,
Hmm.
About a year and a half ago, I finally not a year, yeah, no, literally when the TicWatch E, remember last
Yeah.
year's the TicWatch E, so I gave her that, so she's been rocking that one, and she loves it. But then when I
Yeah.
showed her
Maria's
this one,
using the GTH Pro, the one with Artie.
yeah,
Do you
yeah, yeah.
remember
Oh,
Artie?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Already,
Yeah. So
I could
she's
never
on that
get. I
tick
could
watch, but
never
I
get.
think,
I'll say it. I got Artie running once, and that was it. Artie just did not like me.
oh, Artie worked great for me. And it was great because
I
like
could never get it to it always errored
Marie and
out
I
of the
had like a
range.
little competition going. Like my veins are 10 years younger than my wife's veins are,
Woohoo.
and she didn't think that was very funny.
No,
But just to kind
sorry,
of
Maria. I
kind of
apologize in
show
advance.
I know it's like I
I
do love
gotta,
my wife, I
I
promise.
gotta apologize because
Um,
I gotta see her at some point. But yeah,
but like this, I don't have a Fitbit here. I really haven't rocked with one. She used to use a Sense, and we had to get it replaced like 3 times, and it
yeah, yeah.
wasn't a very good piece of hardware. But this is the Amazfit GT-S4 that I just reviewed. You
Yes,
reviewed the
GTR. Yeah, yeah,
GT-R4,
the GT,
and if
which
you
was more.
look, if I can get my face out of the way, oh come on, there we go. It
Oh yeah, here
is
you go.
so much closer to a smaller fitness tracker screen. So
Hmm.
if you just cut the edges off of this little GTS4 and tried to make it a round dial, a
Yeah, yeah.
round crown, what do you call that? A round
It's
face,
yeah,
you'd end up with
circular face.
something like the Pixel Watch.
And for me though, the Pixel Watch feels so. I keep wanting to call it the Pebble. I don't know why. Like it looks like if you take out the straps, it has that pebble
Yeah.
shape. It feels like it
Yeah.
looks like a pebble.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
design was done very
That's
beautifully.
stone. Yeah.
It's a stone. Yeah, sorry, yeah, not the pebble like the watch. I meant the stone, like an actual pebble. So yeah, no, I like the experience. I'm hoping at some point maybe if they do have a little bit of a bigger watch, that may be something. But yeah, no, at some point, what I'll probably say is with everything going on, I will say this is definitely a really good intro into the smartwatch. I want to
Yeah.
see though, can Google leverage still give you a day worth of battery life when you have LTE turned on it? Because again, I was a little bit confused. I typically see when a watch is released with and without LTE that one
Hmm.
version will have a bigger battery because you want to compensate
Yeah.
for the modem.
And
That
that's not
that
what we've got.
no, yeah, typically what we get is same device. I mean, that's what we usually get. Right now, what we have is pretty much the same on every all across. So, although this will live more on GPS and Bluetooth for me, if I want to use it as far as for fitness and so on, LTE I probably will activate it, but not necessarily use it. I love the fact that we can turn it off. It was easy. You go into settings,
Yeah.
you go get into connectivity,
Done.
modem, boom, off, turn it off from automatic, and then you're there. It has Wi-Fi, so if it needs to actually connect to your phone over Wi-Fi, let's say you're out of the
Yeah.
room, you want to get notifications, it's going to work. It does the job, and I think it'll do well.
I'll be curious
Yeah.
to see. I mean, like I said, I have now dropped down to 69% just messing around with the watch while we've been talking. So
I'm
using the watch
78%
a
after my
little
first
bit
month.
more in
What?
between some of our
Well, and for
pieces
me
here.
though, I had to reset and restart. Yeah, so I haven't
Yeah,
recharged it since, but yeah.
but again, super passive use to then just kind of poking around and scanning through a couple notifications and stuff like that. I have started wearing the battery down a little bit, but that's still pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
As soon as I just do, even without LTE, as soon as I do a workout and I've got GPS running, I believe this is going to be an under 24-hour watch. So I'll have to charge in the morning if I want to do any. I don't really wear watches at night, but if I want to try the sleep tracking, I don't think it can last
I'm probably going to
for
try that
a
yet
workout and a sleep track. I just think
in one
it's
day.
going to be a little
And
lean.
it takes about 80 minutes from what they advertise on the website to charge it fully from zero. So it's not a I'll say this, it needs a few more days. It's definitely more of a Fitbit. Like I said, it's not designed to try to last for days yet. And I want to see some of the other options available if they do, like I said, down the road, maybe make
Yeah.
other sizes and so on. But
And
it's a good start.
and it's making me real anxious to see what we can do with a larger watch case like
Hmm.
this Tick watch
Or like a Pro.
with that
Maybe they're
new
keeping that for the Pixel Watch Pro or something
SoC.
like that.
Well, I mean, we'll have to see now that Apple has the Ultra. If we just get a Google a Pixel Watch Plus, even that
True.
would be fine.
Some people are actually enjoying the Pixel, the iPhone 14 Plus more than the Pro Max because the battery life is much better.
Yeah,
And over, but because obviously you don't have the always on display, you don't have the high refresh rate. You're getting
but
yeah.
say you just took like sort of the casing, you made the casing of a TicWatch E3 a little rounder.
Yeah, yeah.
and you could open up the bezels a bit, and you would end up with something like
The
you would end
Pixel
up with
Watch.
something about the right size for a Pixel Watch Plus.
Oh, I know,
You wouldn't be far off.
but I will say though, I love so which is your favorite watch face right now? Like, what are you using overall?
Oh, I just went super basic. So I've got it's on
I've
the
been
wrong
liking the
wrist for me to show this off.
yeah,
But
I'm doing the concentric, the one that keeps running the spinning outer dial, so it keeps basically
oh
spinning the
yeah, that, I
content.
like that one. That one's cool. I
Visually,
just went super basic with like
just
just
barely.
time,
Yeah, no, I know mine
digital
is.
clock, and then my temperature, heart rate, and step count.
Yeah, let me see.
So
Can we get San? And there we are. See, look.
yeah, that one's clean. I
It
really
is, but
like that.
that spinning dial at the top, I just mesmerizes me. I like looking at it. And
Hmm.
one thing I will say this UI element wise, though, just from a sense of how this works, my favorite feature so far, because I just kind of like feature. So if you're holding the watch straight, I know I'm not trying to keep it in focus, and you just swipe up with the
Hmm.
crown, it opens up the notification panel. You don't have to swipe down for it. And if you swipe down, it jumps, it brings down, sorry, by the way, swipe down takes the notification panel with the toggles, swipe up takes notification. You're able to interact with them without having to do the swipe. There's some thought process put into the crown, not just having it look nice. And for everybody that hasn't seen this yet, or you probably haven't noticed, this actually has a secondary button. There's a function button that's right under the crown that doesn't really, it's very well designed to be flushed to the system. So it almost looks like it's not there. But if you have it on your watch, yeah, if you just, like you said, they were like, okay, swipe down, boom, notification, swipe up, you
It's
get the
pretty clean.
notification, and then you swipe through them, and then you can swipe them away, of course. It came
I
with
caught myself on my tick watch turning
the
the
button,
little
the
buttons
little buttons.
because they're not crowns.
No, no, no.
I was just
And
kind
they're
of
not.
messing around like, why isn't it doing anything? Oh, that's right, because my Pixel Watch is on the
It's
other
the
wrist.
it's the other hand, Juan. It's the other hand.
But that took over so quick because I
Yeah.
haven't used Galaxy watches and I haven't played with fossils for a while
And Galaxy
either.
Watches don't have it. Galaxy Watches has buttons, but
But
they used
having
to
the
have a
Pixel Watch for
spinning.
a day,
Yeah,
I started turning one of
the
the
crown.
buttons on my Tick Watch, and you're like, oh right, that does nothing. Great,
Yeah, and
great.
but I like Chop's comment there. He's right. The bezels are much are less pronounced when you have it on the black with the spinning dial because it matches. You know, it definitely leverages there. Um,
So,
but yeah,
Pixel in good shape. We've got to get started actually working on it. So for both of us, our coverage is going to be coming out, I think, kind of organically like this. It's going to be a while before I'll ever call something a review for using it like this.
I think Michael Peppertech was teasing us at the beginning. He's like, Juan, you already had it for like 24 hours. What's wrong, man?
Yeah, I know.
You're slowing down in your old age, buddy.
I need my
Not him, that's what I'm
unboxing,
saying.
first impressions, comparisons with other phones, and full in-depth review, and my after the buzz. I mean, that should really only take me about 36 hours. So,
I think that's that. I'm with you, man. I support you, and I'll make sure to. And
but
if everybody listening, make sure you check out his Patreon because I think some of that content is also going to be coming out to his Patreon as well.
so
Very soon.
I did kind of link to my performance benchmark charts.
Yeah,
I haven't even like pulled them out or made them pretty or anything. It's just every phone that I've tested from the last year in one PowerPoint presentation, going from like video rendering to audio editing. If a lot of that information will eventually make it into future videos and reviews and stuff like that. But if you want to get a sense of it now, patreon.com/somegadgetguy. Patrons
absolutely.
are already getting like my behind the scenes on
Hmm.
everything that's testing, and you can see very granularly where like a Pixel 6a is a dominant option in a real world test, and where the Pixel 7 Pro is kind of landing against 8 Gen 1s, Dimensity 8100s, Snapdragon 870s. It's been really interesting. This year has been a very unpredictable year
Yeah.
for these types of performance improvements.
No, I appreciate where we are and how things are going, and I think for me it's fun going back to a Pixel and fun using it as a primary driver, primary device to use on a daily basis, because it's been some time like I've been jumping from many devices, and I've been really waiting, like I'm carrying over with the Fold, and I really want to finally go back to a legit, just like a powerhouse, and I want to see, how does it handle creation content, calls daily.
Oh
I
yeah.
want to take it out and do a couple of speed tests just to see how the radio performance. The antennas where we are right now here in my area have gotten so good. I'm getting over 1,000 on most of my speed tests. So I'm like,
Oof.
crap. Like what?
I'm
I mean,
nowhere near that.
no, I know. What I and no, no, and to be honest, most of those speeds don't occur in my home. It is about roughly about like 5 minutes or 6 minutes from where I am. It's a much more densely populated area with like malls and stuff like that.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
I always love doing the speed there because I typically like. Oh, and I'll say this, maybe even in the lieu of this one, ultra capacity started to show up now after the last update that we got from Samsung. They're a little bit behind on the
nice.
Fold. Like even though we're in October, they gave us September security patch update. But with that, they fixed, and I think what did that, this is the version of the software that should have been there day one. Because I know we talked about it before. We're like, hey, I don't know why I'm not getting the speeds I'm supposed to. Like, why would
Right.
Samsung, like purposely not give it the full benefit? And yeah, it's a expensive phone. So long story short, updates always make things better. Sometimes they
Well,
don't, but most of the time they do.
and talking about you getting UC and some really great T-Mobile 5G coverage,
Really good
uh,
connection.
we recently got to play around with some other products that can take advantage of that T-Mobile 5G connection.
I was so happy to see that, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so no, I mean, I was like, man,
I
TK's just gonna run with it. This is awesome. No,
like.
we got to go hands-on on launch day for the new line of Surface devices.
Oh yeah.
I've been a little surprised at how vitriolic the response has been.
Hmm.
I had a number of comments on my just hands-on video, like, this is completely uninspiring hardware. Microsoft has completely lost the plot. This is underpowered and too expensive. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
Like, no
Yeah.
one's really done anything with these things yet. I don't know that you know what you're asking for if you're talking about
I
Surface gear.
the
I
reality. Yeah. No. It sounds like their expectations were of a gaming system, and not realizing what is Surface trying to do, what's the solutions that they're trying to provide, and
mhm.
like what we saw yesterday. I guess it's 2 days. Was it yesterday? No, 2 days.
2 days ago.
No, was it? I am
Wasn't it
really.
Tuesday?
I'm really. It was no. It was Wednesday. It was
Or was it?
yesterday. It was yesterday morning.
It was yesterday.
It was
Oh my
yesterday
god.
morning. Like
Yeah,
happy
you're right.
Friday. No, happy
No, you're.
Thursday.
I'm wrong. I'm
No,
wrong.
yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I
I'm
added a
legit.
whole extra day.
I like it's Friday. Are we doing this on Friday or Thursday? We're doing it on Thursday. And
Oh
yesterday, all I
no.
know, I remember because I had to jet out faster than Juan did. But so yeah, long story, incredibly long. I don't know why, but we got some hands on with some incredible hardware, and we also got a hands on. We were walked through, and it was a curated
Yeah.
experience where we had at each product we had a curated or presentation done, like a mini presentation, kind of giving us a summation of what things are. The biggest thing I would probably say is the approach that they did to the Pro 9 model. Okay. The
Yeah.
new laptop Pro 9, it's a tablet, typical Surface tablet
Yeah.
with
Surface
keyboard,
tablet. Yeah.
Surface tablet, and you get the keyboard with it, with the pen input. They have a really nice hidden mechanism for it as well. Um, but they're leveraging Windows on ARM here and even giving you that option at launch. Like if you want to have something with more, better power savings, longer battery life, better connectivity, as well as more portability, and having the power of a mobile processor like the 8CX put in there, is it's definitely big there, with all the optimization with the audio. I put in a clip, so I put the clip in there that they recorded of me
Oh,
doing the
good. Good.
audio
Good.
on
You did
my.
get it.
Yeah,
Nice.
no, what happened is, so this is the messed up part, right? So you weren't around, so I couldn't catch you. I'm not saying it's your thing. I'm just saying I'm mentioning it, so you don't. It's not that. So I set my phone on the table, the X70 Pro Plus, and I had it pointed to me to record the clip, right? But then because they were doing all the clapping and the banging and all that good
Mm-hmm.
stuff, they were banging on the table. So you see the beginning
Yep.
of the clip, me starting da 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 da, and then afterwards like boom, and,
Flat.
and yeah, but they were still recording audio, so I got the audio part good with the clap. But what ended up happening is it actually was really good. Like it was crazy good. The
Yeah.
ability of canceling
So
everything
so
around.
we're getting I mean, obviously I made that transition talking about 5G. Microsoft showed
Yeah.
off basically a total refresh of their mainstream line.
Hmm.
The one I was surprised to see, I did feel was a little behind.
Hmm.
The new Surface Studio 2 Plus is on 11th gen Intel and
Yeah, and it's
has
and only
an
i7,
RTX 3060.
no i9 option. It's an
No
upgrade
i9
over.
option.
Yeah, it's because it's a
But it
studio,
does.
right?
That's the one that felt like just a bit of a spruce. Like we
It
just
is.
refreshed the specs a little bit, and maybe there will be a proper Surface Studio 3 out relatively
could
soon.
could
I
absolutely,
couldn't.
I could
I
get us
got
the
the
same.
sense that this was as like Microsoft kind of just their little like acknowledgement that they needed to have a desktop refresh. But the new laptop 5 in
Mhm.
13 and 15-inch models, the
That
Surface
looks
Pro
nice.
9, which we've already said, but specifically now there isn't a separate Surface X with an
Yes,
ARM chipset. So it's Surface
which is
Pro
what we had.
9,
Yeah, exactly.
it's Surface Pro 9 with Intel, so 12th gen Intel, or
Mhm.
Surface Pro 9 SQ3, which is
So
the
they're
Qualcomm
yeah,
8CX Gen 3.
it's exactly, yeah.
Or a refresh of it. It's a proprietary relationship that Microsoft has with Qualcomm to make
Yeah.
this sort of a custom solution, but it's based on
The ATX.
the
It's
Snapdragon that we've seen, the
No, no,
8CX.
absolutely, and they mention it. It is they're yeah, like you said, it's referred to as the SQ3 edition, which the other thing that we were talking, since we're talking 5G connectivity and all, I love the fact that it was not tied to a specific carrier. It's
Yep.
unlocked out of the box.
Yep.
And the demo units we had at the time, they were running the ones that had T-Mobile connected on them. So to me, I was like, okay, great. Now you're talking to my words here. Let's just talking about what connectivity is, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Designs, we saw a lot of accessibility too. That was also a really nice
Hmm.
area that I don't think a lot of people focused on. But the ability of getting functions natively built in for accessibility and accessories as well, like not just software but hardware to complement. That
Yeah.
one mouse they were showing us was really nice, like that little tiny cube of a mouse, and then you plug it into a 3D molded print of the regular Microsoft mouse, and boom, it becomes there, and that can convert from right-handed to left-handed as easy of like pop pop, to popping everything. Um, that was exciting for me. I like that. I like that experience. There was a lot of good things going on. Even the dock, I was excited for the dock. I don't know
Yeah.
why the dock made me excited.
The
Uh,
audio dock was cool. I mean, there have been so many of these. Like I just recently played with a laptop hub that has high res audio built into it, and I
yeah, yeah.
love these different. Like I have another tease for a video coming out. This is the U Perfect laptop dock, but this is the wireless 14 Pro.
Okay.
So if you can do Dex Ready for, or the Honor Magic 4 will do wireless desktop mode, then you can connect this to your phone
Wireless
wirelessly
projection.
if you want to
Yeah.
do wireless projection.
Huawei would
So
probably work with it as well, because I think it
yeah,
also does
I believe it
wireless
would.
projection. Yeah.
I haven't played with Huawei in so long. I was just excited to get Honor back. So when we're looking at like all of the different modular features that you can combine with these products now, this to me is like, Apple has an ecosystem that's built on a very specific kind of carrier lock-in. Google has an ecosystem where they're catching up on like phones and smartwatches, but
Mhm.
they've got, I think, a better infrastructure for smart home tech and
Oh,
combining all of
absolutely.
these different things. And I think Microsoft is building their own first-party platform where they're trying to kind of disrupt their own established market. Like
Okay.
a Surface is always going to be more expensive and probably going to be less powerful, but it's built and designed in a way to craft an experience that you really can't get anywhere else. And then you look at these things, like for people who have very special considerations or special needs for interacting with technology,
Mhm. Yeah.
they're way ahead of the curve in addressing those types of usability and accessibility issues. From
Yeah.
the Xbox accessibility platform controller all the way now to different 3D modeling rigs for using stylus and smart pens,
Mhm.
for clip-on mouses, and now these new control pad surfaces. It's basically just a little puck, and it
Yeah.
has a 4-button actuator in it,
Mhm.
and you can program all of these different things. So let's say you don't have a hand and you're interacting with a different part of your arm,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can click these 4 buttons just like you would kind of like the D-pad on a game controller. And that can be your interface for interacting with different things on your computer. And you can do anything you want to print out different modules that can click into it for customizing the software.
Mhm.
And when you see that, you're like, okay, well, Microsoft is doing this really cool thing with accessibility. That has bled into the Surface line, the actual computers themselves. Opening the hinge on a Surface Pro 9
Oh yeah.
is so easy, but the hinge is like perfectly balanced. So like it doesn't feel wobbly when you have it propped up, but I was shooting video with the hinge closed and I reach over with one hand and I can open that hinge, pull the Surface Pro open, have the
Hmm.
keyboard blade lay flat, and it's all one hand while I'm shooting video from a phone of that whole interaction. You
Yep.
can take one finger and lift the lid on a Surface Laptop 5. You can
Oh my
take
God,
two
yes, from any
fingers
angle. Yeah.
and pull the studio whole display to lay it totally flat to use it as a graphics tablet. Everything is so easy. It's just machined easy. It's just so
And
beautiful.
specifically, they were explaining to us on the 5 at least. Every
Oh
unit is
yeah, on the
balanced.
laptop.
Yeah, yeah, they're
How
manually
adorable. The,
balanced.
the guy who was running the laptop presentation, he could not have been a more
It's his
adorable engineer.
No, absolutely. This is
Because
his
he
baby.
was
You could
just so
definitely
proud,
hear.
and this is a what and like he's breaking down like, so every single Surface laptop has to go through this calibration process. So depending on the hinge and the materials
Yep.
and the rigidness of the structure, we put in different quantities of magnets so that it closes appropriately, but it can still be opened, and that has to be calibrated uniquely for every
Yeah,
single
it's very.
laptop. And it was like he was talking about like his adorable little toddler.
No, no.
Like he was just so proud of himself, and this is so good, and we have
It
so
felt
much
like it
fun.
was a yeah, yeah. It was very much a father talking about his kids
It
type of an
totally
experience.
was.
And no, but you got to enjoy it, and you got to experience some of that, the new experience there. And it feels like so the refinements that we get there, for me, obviously it pulls a lot on the Surface Laptop Go 2, since we got a chance to play with that. It's basically the big brother of that, right? I mean, it's not like, the
Yeah,
Go 2, the laptop is more of a student entry level. This is definitely more of the more professional. You can definitely do more. The one thing I was a little bit surprised, and I think I asked them when we were talking about it, I was hoping for some more, at least on the Surface 5, maybe a discrete option, something with a more of
yeah,
a discrete graphics, because it seemed like only the studio got a 3060, and again, as you said, it was like a 3060. Not to
yeah.
say that the 3060 is bad; it's a decent
No,
GPU
it's great.
for what they need. But it's I mean I wouldn't necessarily recommend that type of, the studio wouldn't be necessarily something for people to go start rendering videos and stuff. It's really more for CAD design, drawing, utilizing the space.
Graphics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more graphic. I think it's designed for that. But on the Surface 5, I felt like maybe we would have benefited from like a 3080 or something like that, or even like
I
a slightly more powerful something, a
I think
co-production tool. Yeah,
I completely agree. I think the Surface Laptop 5 15
at
is
least a 15.
overdue a discrete GPU.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah,
that was my only thing.
it's time that we've kind of just given it that little bit of extra oomph,
Give it that pro
especially
power.
with better competition from like Apple in that space.
Oh yeah,
I think
especially
would
around
make
the
a lot of sense.
15 with the M series, the
Yeah.
M1s and all that. I mean, they're already going mobile, and we're still using obviously Intel. Nothing's wrong with it, but I'm just saying, we had one Windows on ARM type of a solution, so utilizing more mobile
Hmm.
processing. But then, like I said, the overall portfolio. Sorry, I keep banging the mic. Um, it stayed basically, again, par for the core. It stayed pretty much on the path of what Surface is supposed to. Reliable, well designed, as you said. The improvements over the magnets, the experience with the one-handed experience, the accessibility. I like the fact that the dock makes it into a one cabled connection. Thunderbolt made a big
Yeah.
show there, obviously, and we're going to talk obviously as well about iPhone, because that was
Uh,
also a little bit of a change that
I
I
guess
didn't
whatever.
expect. Guess what? Like, it was something, I would say, kind of like finally making it better and easier for Windows users
Again,
to plug in
the
iPhone if you
reason
have an
why I'm
iPhone.
being so pissy dismissive is it's yet another example to me of other companies solving problems
For
for
Apple.
Apple
Yeah, I know.
because of all the iPhone users out there. So basically, you're just going to get significantly better
Sorry.
integration with your cloud services.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now on Windows 11, and they're showing this off on services. Obviously, if you're running Windows 11, this is going to be coming in a major kind of push update that's going to be coming to Windows 11
Absolutely, yeah.
soon.
That one feature
Is
with the
when you
tabs
go
inside of
into
Windows in sorry, File Explorer, that killed me. I still don't have that
when you
feature.
go into your file explorer and when you go into your photos app, it's going to be much more clearly delineated. Like there are going to be these little icons and this conveyance where you can see, oh, this is a photo from my iCloud, this is a photo from my OneDrive, this is a
Yep.
photo that's stored locally on the computer.
Hmm.
But the interaction with iCloud being OS level now meant like she was taking photos with an iPhone and they were immediately showing up in
As soon
cloud
as they synced
storage
up this,
folders
exactly.
on a Surface Studio. And you're like, that's great. I mean, again, I think Microsoft has done this phenomenally well. I think Microsoft does this kind of integration and interaction a lot better than they ever get credit for.
Yeah.
But to me, it's frustrating because one, we know Apple never gives the same kind of consideration. Things are
Yeah.
never built into Mac OS with the same kind of ease of use or the same kind of consistency.
Windows
And
Mobile
Apple
better
never would
supported
have
on Mac OS
collaborated.
Safari. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that. Sorry.
But Apple never would have extended better resources for Microsoft to do this. It's like Microsoft has to do this on their own. Google has to do this on their own. We all have to like cater to this
Yeah.
monopolistic business entity, and we get a better product out of it. But the company that's really doing the work to make the product better and is making iCloud better isn't really getting the recognition that I think they deserve. So
Yeah, but I appreciate what I would say on my end. I think it's more of a survivable type of thing for Windows users to have a better experience using their iPhone is also helping the ecosystem not lose subscribers because you don't want to people say like, oh, I can never use my iPhone the way I want to on my Android or on my
right.
not on my Android on my
But the
Windows
same thing has
PC.
never worked because like I can't even use like USB file transfers from an Android to a Mac.
Yeah, no,
So
no,
again, I just want to point out Apple has broken standards to make their products more proprietary and more expensive, and it's everybody else's responsibility to fix their broken products so that other people can simply interact with Macs and iPhones. And that is really stupid. What Microsoft has done is kind of incredible. It
oh yeah,
really is good software, and Windows 11 is really catching up on a lot of this pretty fluid, the way panels snap and move. All of the
the
like your
preview.
start menu
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
is now sticky, so it follows the gesture. It's not just tap start button and it
and
pops
then
up.
swipes up. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It swipes up with your finger. Panels from the side swipe with your fingers. Like Windows 11 is really trying to find its tablety side.
Well, bringing
But
it back from
again,
Windows 8, right? Remember, there was that weird
yeah,
transition, right? We went into Windows
yes,
8, which was supposed to be more tablet, a
better.
lot of big buttons. Then we reverted back to standard mode because Windows 8 was such a bad debacle. Then Windows 10 came in to try to fix things up.
I was on
Right?
board. I loved Windows 8, and people can fight me. I think you had to be really stupid if you couldn't figure out
Did you ever
Windows
use it
8.
in tablet mode, or did you keep it in desktop mode?
Yeah,
I
both.
mean, I was okay with tablet mode initially. I was kind of getting used to it. By the time I got comfortable with tablet mode, they took it away. That was the
No,
weird part
Windows
of it.
8 totally got me cooking on keyboard shortcuts for Windows.
Okay.
Like even now today, I do very little in Windows. I mean, unless I absolutely just have to put a mouse cursor somewhere.
Yeah.
Everything I've got shortcuts and macros. Like I'm a keyboard junkie. It's like almost like going back to DOS. Windows 8 kind of supercharged that for me, and I just
Yeah.
stuck with it through Windows 10 and Windows 11. I was good with Windows 8. I think people that blew Windows 8 out of proportion, like the issues and the problem, it doesn't even have a start button. Oh, like you're
No,
stupid.
no, it was well, you gotta remember.
You're an idiot, and I think less of you.
I
Not you,
okay.
TK, because I know
I
you could use Windows 8. You weren't one of those
no,
people
no, Windows 8
complaining
was
about it.
fine. 8.1
But
8.1 was also kind of okay for me. It was more like it's just the UI element shift. By the time I got used to it and got comfortable with it and I
no,
was
but it's
happy with it,
frustrating because now we're getting back to a lot of the things that we would have just
a
taken
little
for
bit.
granted on Windows 8.
But I like
in
the
that
what they're doing.
tablety
Yeah, no,
interaction.
no. But like the UI elements that we saw on the Surface 5, on the Pro 9, as well, even on the
Hmm.
Studio, like you said, just the ability of moving the actual whatever window you want, and you want to bring it up to the top. It gives
Yeah.
you the different options of what you want to be able to snap it at, as opposed to have, and it pops up now, and it's more persistent when you have your, as long as you keep the mouse sitting up there,
Hmm.
and then it snaps it. And if, let's say, you have multiple tabs opened up in Edge, I don't think it'll support Chrome. I think that's primarily Windows Edge on there.
Yeah.
It'll show the different panels, the different tabs as separate panels you can select, and it'll take it out of directly from the system. So
Hmm.
a lot of functional things done correctly. One thing to mention, I didn't get a chance to. You may have stepped away. um, the ability of sharing files straight from iCloud into an email for
Yeah.
attachment is also built in. So that image,
Yeah.
that the one I posted of us on Instagram, that picture came straight from. They took a picture of us while we were standing in front of the Studio Two, the Studio 2 Plus. Um, and then she tagged it, she connected it straight from iCloud into her mail client, and then mailed it out. So that was a nice little service. So very smooth,
Again,
an updated
fixing
problem.
something
No, I
that's
know.
broken on iCloud. So again, I think Microsoft is doing something really interesting there. It's a
Yeah,
shame that Apple can't contribute to the rest of the tech community in the same way that everyone else
has to
is
contribute.
contributing to the usability of their products. Because
I know.
otherwise, this walled garden would be a lot more severe if it weren't for Microsoft and Google having to play nice.
I mean,
And there's a part of me that really wishes like Microsoft would go scorched earth. Like, okay, fine, no more Office, no more cloud storage, no more server storage hosting. Like, Apple, just do it yourself since you're so clever. I'd
they
love to
can
see
do it.
kind of like the Bill Gates era of Microsoft wage total war on Mac OS today,
They're like,
just to because I don't think people realize like how many things are properly broken by Apple, in the way that we use basic service. USB, Apple is non-compliant. Bluetooth file transfers,
no,
Apple is non-compliant. This type of cloud storage mechanism, Apple will play ball letting you use APIs for iCloud, but they're not going to include better management of your APIs in their
directly in their
operating
system.
system.
No, no, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest difference, where Microsoft was trying to show. So that was the biggest kind of caveat in there.
Sure.
A lot of improvements, minor. There was the updated version of the what's it called, the photo app, I think they talked about. But there was
Hmm.
also that designer app, the designer
Yeah,
functionalities that we saw.
they're
We got
going
a chance to.
hardcore on AI content, and I had to ask a really dopey
I
question, like
know.
so.
Like,
So, like, if your AI is making, I mean, so you can come up with a template, and this designer app will create. It's based on what's the AI, Dolly,
Dolly, yeah, Dolly too.
Dolly.
Hmm.
So it's based on that. So you give it this like just casually worded instruction, like I want a watercolor painting of a house to be the background of this birthday card, and
Yeah,
it will create a wholly new image that has never existed before on the internet. And like that to me
it's crazy.
is impressive and shocking, and also hugely disruptive to the entire market that we have established for things like stock photography and clip art. And like, if I take a photo of something and I charge money for it, I own the license, but you are using the license, and I am allowing you to use this piece of media in your project. And
Yeah.
now here's Microsoft, like, we've created an entirely new work. At some point, people are going to have disputes on intellectual property and who owns the rights to this, and is this an
And
image I can use in perpetuity. Like,
well,
to me, this
will
is
it create the same
wild.
thing if, let's say, you and I both put in the same sentence, right? I want a
Yeah.
picture of a dog sitting on a chair in an open field, and then suddenly we get the same
Yes.
image generated, and we may modify it exactly the same. I mean, it's, I'm not saying that it's totally far fetched. You and I hung out for quite some time. We've talked. We have a lot of things. There are certain things sometimes we release video review videos posted without even talking to each other, around days from each
Yeah.
other. It could happen. And I wonder, you're right. They didn't have a really straight up answer for us because it was primarily just, obviously it's new
Yeah.
content,
I mean, I'm
but it
asking something like really deep in the weeds,
yeah,
legal, nerdy.
yeah. And
Yeah.
they're like, we'll get back to you. We'll let you know.
Yeah. You
It's
know what I
cool.
should do is I should hit them up and you're like, oh, yeah, I loved the event. Thank you so much for having us. It was so much fun, blah, blah, blah. It's just following up. Have you gotten your lawyers on the case? I'd love to know what they have to say.
They're like,
I don't want to be that
yeah.
obnoxious.
Like
But
he
all in
was
all,
serious about that question. No, it's kidding. Go
right?
ahead.
That jerk. All in all, I feel like Microsoft put a good foot forward on.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this like? I want to say it's the 10th anniversary of the first Surface launch,
I think, yeah, somebody was talking about
isn't
that. Yeah,
it?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't radical. It's not revolutionary. I think a lot of people are frustrated because they want to see something disruptive from
Yeah. No,
Microsoft. Obviously, there was no news about Duo. I mean,
they had a
I'll be
Duo
very.
2. They had one Duo 2 sitting on the table. That was it.
One of the PR guys came over to me and was like, "Oh, I was hoping you were going to bring your Duo also." I was like, "I'm shooting this all on a Xiaomi. I'm so sorry." The Duo was so much fun, but the one thing I absolutely needed was a better camera. And he was like, "Yeah, I know."
No, between the two of us, we covered this show with this event with an X70 Pro Plus and a Xiaomi 12S Ultra. Two
Yeah.
great, two great devices
Oh
to cover
yeah.
events with. Yeah, we totally
Oh,
running that.
and I gotta tell you, like, I know we're wrapping up our conversation about the Microsoft event, but I set up a Gorilla Pod. I plugged in my Rode mics over
Yeah,
USB. I pointed the 12S Ultra in your general direction, and it looks like it could have been any mirrorless camera. Like, it looks
it
so
was,
good
yeah,
for just a simple
the spot
two-person
was really
shot
nice.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
It was a beautiful spot, and definitely, I mean, obviously not the same as my car last time, but it's definitely, I mean, it was a different
your
experience.
car was
Last
great. No,
night
it worked really well.
it was great. We were doing it quickly. I think I was going on a trip that ended that evening, if I wasn't mistaken.
Yeah.
Like it was a weird, yeah, it was a tough day because I was like, oh my god, luckily we got in, we did all of that. So hopefully, if we do get a chance to experience some of that
Hmm.
hardware in more of a testing experience, we'll keep you guys
What
posted.
out of everything that they showed, I think I know what your answer would be. What is it that you would want to test drive?
I will say the Surface Pro 9 5G because
Same. I want that.
the
I want to try that ARM
I want Windows on
SoC.
ARM. I want to get that portability. I want that more. Um, so I got exposed to this a few years back when it was first introduced, when we started to see in the Pro, like the X model on the Surface X. It was locked to Verizon at the time, and it was definitely more like first gen, second release. Every year over year,
Yeah.
we hear Qualcomm introducing, talking about it. I saw the updated hardware last year. Obviously, we're sure we're going to be hearing more about it later this year. But I want to see more. Yeah, I want to be able to live with a mobile computing solution on ARM, like an actual truly fully installed, fully set up, and see what are the limitations, what things can I not do, and can it really
Yeah.
outperform my, my actual main system that I'm not going to lie, my last trip to Germany when I was going there for Xiaomi, um, I really struggled using my laptop. And it's not a gaming laptop; it's a creator laptop. But I couldn't charge it on the airplane. The
Yeah.
chargers on the airplane wouldn't handle the power brick that comes with it. So I barely had an hour worth of editing to get something out. But I would have loved having, like, again, on a five
Something.
seven hour
Yeah.
flight, yeah, something to work with that is more efficient and ran longer, and of course has connectivity to upload straight up from it anywhere I am without having to go find where the hotspot, where the Wi-Fi is. But yeah, like solutions like these, I always am excited about. So
Yeah.
I said my piece, and
I think
hopefully we'll
we're
see what comes
ready.
back. Yeah,
I was ready back in the Windows RT days. I was ready to do this, rip off the Band-Aid,
yeah.
start making mobile style apps specifically for a trimmed down version of Windows. It has always bothered me how Microsoft. So Apple change. I've lived through two massive silicon changes with Apple.
Okay.
I started working on Macs when they were PowerPC, and
Okay.
I was running hard through the years of dual core, dual socket Power Macs. I loved those machines.
Yeah.
I made the Intel transition. I was still an Apple product specialist working DOE contracts, and then I started shifting over into entertainment. Now again, I've gotten to watch yet another Apple silicon change from Intel
M
powered
series.
products to their own ARM based
ARM. Yeah.
processors. every
Sorry, the
single
M series. Yeah.
time we've seen Microsoft or another manufacturer with Windows try to make an alternatively powered device that's not based on x86, it's not an AMD processor or an Intel processor,
Hmm.
there is zero patience. It needs to be perfect. I don't have all the access to my apps. You can't run any legacy software. What's going on? This is
Yeah.
garbage. Both times I've watched Apple make this transition, and granted, Apple has had some good like compatibility and like emulation software to help ease the transition. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't tell me like going to M1 didn't come with a phenomenal amount of teething pains for a daily driver computer. Like
At the beginning,
it
yeah.
wasn't a seamless transition. Let's not pretend that it was. We have all the runway in the world for Apple to
Hmm.
handle that transition. It's going to get better. You just got to wait. Developers are going to get on board. It's going to be fine. But Microsoft does anything, and it's like it did not take off like a helicopter. You know, Apple gets the runway from Fast and Furious movies, like infinite runway.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the C-130 never really leaves the ground. It just goes on forever. You've got plenty of runway. But if Microsoft can't take off like a rocket, literally vertically, well, then it's just a total failure. So we've been scratching and clawing our way back to this idea, and Windows on ARM seems like it's in a good space to give it a real honest try.
Yeah.
But what I'm most anxious about is seeing like how many of the things in Windows 11 actually make the transition to Windows on ARM. Like it's an ARM-based SoC, so shouldn't that be pretty easy to use Android apps?
Well,
In
because
fact, shouldn't Windows on ARM be even better for Android apps than Chrome
Intel Chrome. Yeah.
on x86? You know, like
It.
the Pixel Book Go did not run Android apps as well as like a good mid-ranger phone. Now here's a Surface. Shouldn't we be able to leverage that infrastructure and that hardware and all those compatibility layers that are now built directly, the runtime environments that are built directly into Windows 11? Like, shouldn't that work really well? And if it does, that significantly cuts the transition for so many people who are familiar with running their work through these mobile style apps. I'm not going to be as concerned about the legacy x86 software. So that to me is the most anxious part. If we get that,
Hmm.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's going to be less powerful than a proper Intel Core i7, blah, 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 blah. If I'm getting legit like 20 hours of use on that
You have to, yeah,
battery,
exactly.
I'm
It's
good.
the
Yeah.
mobile content creation. We're not trying to leverage and say that this is going to be the mobile, productivity, massive, like not content creation, but like rendering and video. I'm talking about
Yeah.
actually,
But I need it to be run and gun
yeah,
and yeah.
absolutely. Be able to upload from it, connect it, be available to do everything you want to do out of your mobile device, but more of a computing form factor. The testing that I did on the audio sample that I shot was done on the I keep forgetting their SoC naming, but the ATX model, essentially the
Yeah.
Windows on ARM model, um,
SQ3.
the SQ3. So yeah, it's all about how does Microsoft do they back up the system? Do they bring in the feature, making it a smoother transition? On hardware, they made it absolutely identical, with the exception of the antenna bands at the top. You cannot tell the difference between Windows on ARM to basically x86. That was one of the things I loved about it. And then I again, but not having enough time to spend with it, it was short, and I also had to kind of jet about, I think, was it 20, 30 minutes before my our time was over. So
Right.
overall, very promising. If I do get a chance to answer your question, I would love to be able to spend some time with the Pro 9 5G model. Nothing against the standard Pro 9. I just feel like the 5G is one that would probably meet my needs for mobile connectivity, computing, productivity. Um, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually maybe handles, like you said, Android apps better, and maybe even renders better, because we've seen it and we've done many
Yeah.
tests where we see mobile computing, mobile processing or outputs, like when you're exporting files, that run like 2 to 3 times faster, like depending on the
Yeah.
system and the timeline. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you're building a pretty sturdy gaming laptop to consistently outpace. I mean, when we're talking about rendering the types of videos that we cut at a good YouTube quality,
yeah, yeah,
obviously we're not saying you're going to cut your next feature film out of your phone. Mwah. But when we're talking about that kind of practical experience, you got to have a pretty sturdy gaming laptop to consistently take out, I don't know, a Snapdragon 865.
Hmm.
Like, that's not easy to do at like a 50 megabit per second bit rate for 4K 60 frame per second video that looks pretty good when you
Yeah,
upload it to YouTube. If I can get Power Director cooking in a good shell in Windows 11 on a beefier ARM SoC than what's in my phone, I'm hoping, I'm
and it does.
really hoping we can take advantage of some of that hardware. We'll have to see how well that plays.
Absolutely. So that was for me, yeah, that for to summarize kind of the entire event, if there was one thing I kind of stuck in my mind, that was one thing. Accessibility would have been next, and of course, beautiful designed hardware, some customizations. I think they showed us also some nice little etching options that they're bringing in
Hmm.
for the like the back end and so on. So I think as an event, it was nice. I was watching it on the way there. I took an Uber
Yeah,
in
it was
because
really cool.
there was no parking, but it was nice. It was a good event overall, and we got a chance to get hands on like right after the keynote. It wasn't like
Yeah.
the keynote ended and
Yeah,
we
we
were
were
like getting
in. Yeah.
in. I was like, yeah, that's how we do it. So, but yeah, no, like I said, very good, very exciting week. A lot of things going on, and obviously it's going to continue through next week because we're going to be spending more time with our, Pixel 7 Pros, and then putting them
Hmm.
through their paces and and then putting them in real world usage after the update and after the camera update, so that it actually becomes, I would say public use ready kind of thing. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
And then leveraging and seeing what the Tensor 2 can do in real life usage, and hopefully, like you said, battery life can get better a little bit with the display as you would. I mean, we live in Southern California. We typically have beautiful sunny days, but they're
Hmm.
bright. And you're right, the
Yep.
display has to pump out a lot of power to keep up with that type of experience. So we'll have to see how things go. And I'm sure this is something they can definitely
But
tune
early
a little bit better.
experiences, I think, for both of us are definitely leaning towards the positive.
Yeah.
If you're on a Pixel 6 or 6 Pro, unless you're really finding the modem and radio to be a challenge,
Yeah. That could be
I
that.
don't think the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro are going to be life-changing upgrades. I think they're going to largely be lateral moves with a couple nice little perks.
Maybe. Yeah.
But this is very early use, and I'm very anxious to see how this first month of support runs, because I think that's really going to set the tone for Pixel consumers, not for lame tech reviewers who only seem to come to conclusions on smaller brands in an embargo week review.
Review. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the real lived in feel, I feel like the Pixel 6 Pro had tougher teething pains because of the way that Android 12 really got off to a shaky start. And I think now Google has an opportunity to improve the optics on their own line of hardware. Let's see how these first couple updates roll out. See what
Mhm.
kind of polish they can perform. Spruce up some of the performance. Maybe find some way to make the screen run a little bit more efficiently. And
Yeah.
we've got a really good phone ready to go. Like the nuts and
Absolutely.
bolts are there. The pieces are there. We just
Mhm.
need to see how Google kind of clicks them all together and polishes them up.
I like that. I like that very much. Well, but that being obviously it was still on Thursday. Any other things? Any other videos that you're thinking you can push out this week? We still have Friday, obviously Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But do you have anything content kind of working on other than Pixel 7? We already know Pixel 7. You kind of teased a couple
Um,
little
I,
nuggets.
I'm gonna try and do just a little gimmicky video.
Okay.
Very, very. I mean, if I can pull it off tomorrow, it's going to be very, very short. It's not a short, but it's going to be pretty quick. I just want to see, now that we've gotten that one little camera update, I want to take a closer look at the resampling, because I think it's one of the things that the Pixel 6 Pro leaves on the table.
Hmm.
It's got two pixel binning sensors, but I genuinely believe Google is doing very little to leverage the pixel resampling on a hardware level.
Hmm.
I feel it's like they're just using them as 12 megapixel shooters with larger photo sites. And the major claim that the Pixel 7 event had was that transitional zoom between the main sensor and the telephoto,
Hmm.
leveraging both sensors for improved fidelity, and then also resampling images better
Yeah.
using all of those little tiny subpixels. So I just want to try and get a couple samples out, good Southern California light, maybe take my little stuffed animal dog out, and so you can kind of see some like hair and fur, and see like if I go to a 3 times zoom from the main sensor, is the Pixel 7 really doing a better job than the Pixel 6, or was that just kind of like Google software magic speak. So we'll have to
That'll be a
see.
good one. Yeah.
I also really need to get out there and start wrapping up my my e-bike.
I was
So I'm
just
working with
literally about to say you should just take the e-bike and go
Velotric
out.
bikes, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now I
yeah.
have both the road bike and the fat tire bike. And
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done some talking to camera stuff. I really need to get like those video clips of me riding it, better close-ups on the motor and the gears, and here's the chain, and here's the control. I mean, like, it's all the B-roll that you need to shoot for an e-bike video is a lot more than what you need to do for a phone. So I might not get a video out tomorrow just so that I can work on all that. I can't tell you guys, phones are cool. I love tablets. Laptops are fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I am so stupid excited to be taking like urban mobility and people moving gadgets up to
Yeah, yeah.
another level of conversation, because you've been playing with some scooters, you've been playing with some little e-bikes and stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, just like getting a proper big boy fat tire electric bicycle has been life changing.
No,
It's just so much fun.
yeah, no, for me, I'm trying to get my hands wrapped around. There's it's a weird embargo, but it's an embargo on the 15th for some reason. I don't know why, but there'll be something coming out hopefully within the next couple of days or so. Coming up,
Good.
yeah, so it'll be a nice little surprise. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's definitely it's a unique experience, but it definitely from a company that we love and we enjoy their content from before. So we'll see how that comes. So that's primarily what I'm going to shoot for. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do here in the studio because the work here isn't done. They're going to need to come back next
Yeah.
week. So I'm going to use that as the opportunity for me to do some remodeling, but I need to tactfully kind of think about it because I'm also very much constrained. So for the most part, testing the Pixel 7 Pro, family time on this weekend, going over to Caltech, and trying to see how things go with like I said, with the LTE connectivity here and yeah, the improvements that we have in the camera. Like, I mean, you're going to be testing on your side. I'm going to try to test it on mine. We'll keep the
Hmm.
conversation going. So, one thing I didn't mention earlier is that I'm actually for the most part going to be shifting the Android Bay to be a co-hosted show now. Unless there's a
Yeah.
specific reason why we don't have it when we don't have the best of our week. I'm primarily going to be keeping the Android based. This was actually another second time we've done it since last week. It's actually running on both channels. And it is, it's obviously labeled as the Android Bay on one side and the best of our week on the other. But yeah, I'm trying to leverage that a little bit more so I can, because Omar is going back to swimming, there's a lot more competition. Saturdays are becoming a little bit hard for me and I don't like canceling them. This
Yeah.
keeps me on tap and we stay consistent. So yeah. So with that being said, hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. We had a good turnout. We actually hit over 50 today at some point at the beginning of the show. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us. It's been an interesting week. It's going to keep being interesting. Be
Yeah.
safe, stay safe. And Juan, it was fun. We got a chance to hang out. Next time, let's make lunch. Something. Hopefully,
Yeah,
we
we
can.
need to actually like
Yeah,
build
we
the
keep
time
doing like
to
we meet
shove
up
a
for a
sandwich in
few
our
and then
face.
get out. Maybe go back
Yeah.
to the same spot last time. But yeah,
Oh yeah, for
make sure
sure.
you catch up the SGGQA on Monday and on its new destination. So with that being said, thank you very much. Good night, everybody, and good morning to anybody that's in the European time zone, obviously, or on Friday already. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.